Welcome back to He's a Giant, a pod about all things college football, all things Giants football. I am your host, Sal, with my co host, Monty. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Picked a good night to have to miss Wednesday for the start of training camp. We got some fun stuff to talk about,
Yeah, I really was not looking forward to the show at all. I was enjoying my time off. And then
huh?
and then the greatest news ever broke just about an hour ago.
Yeah,
The Las Vegas Raiders are releasing Christian Wilkins and basically claiming that he violated terms of his contract on how he rehabbed post-injury and are trying to void his remaining whatever it is, $38 million of guaranteed money. But he is a free agent. I don't know what form of free agent it is. I think he filed a grievance with the NFLPA to see if he can reinstate his guaranteed money. But he is out there and he's going to be talking to teams. So let's hear your initial thoughts.
I'll tell you. My initial thought when you texted me is I thought we traded for Christian Wilkins, but then I saw they dropped him, which was definitely surprising to me. Clearly there's some stuff going on with that recovery, and certainly that is something to monitor when we're having this discussion. And Dexter Lawrence will know that information better than anybody. But man, I wanted Christian Wilkins pretty bad an off season ago. Um, he's a phenomenal football player. He is a guy who had just short of 100 tackles a couple years ago. He's a guy who had one sack short of 10 double-digit sacks like one season ago. Obviously, he was hurt last season, but this is a guy who has been really, really phenomenal. A really phenomenal football player, a guy who is best friends with Dexter Lawrence. I think if you added Dexter Lawrence and Christian Wilkins to the same line, man, with these edge rushers we have, I truly think we would have the best defensive line in the NFL. And I honestly don't think it would be close. Oh, is Sal, are you quiet for everybody else or just me? I don't hear you. Can you guys hear Sal?
Yeah,
I
I'm
hear
having interference. Let me log
I hear
back
you
out and
now.
come back in. Okay.
Okay. I'll keep going. We hear you now, but try it again. But yeah, I mean, I really do think that this would be the best defensive line in the NFL. I mean, we already are very impressed by the edge rushers that we have on this team. You know, Brian Burns was the big move a season ago. Kayvon Thibodeau hasn't quite lived up to the player that we hoped he would be, but he is still a guy who's had double-digit sacks. And then you spent, top pick in the draft this year on many who believed was a blue chip player and Abdul Carter, adding that with the best nose guard potentially of all time in Dexter Lawrence, if the way he's going, add Christian Wilkins to that mix. That's deadly, man. I think I can hear you now.
Yeah, I think I hear you better now. I was having some interference. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I Wilkins, going back to last year's Giants Hard Knocks, was a guy that some people in the organization targeted. Obviously, he's Dexter Lawrence's best friend. Going back to the Clemson days, we haven't really touched on that too much yet, but they were a pretty nasty duo on that national title winning team. They both came out in the 2019 draft together. Wilkins actually went ahead of Dex. He went 13 to the Dolphins. Dex went
Mm-hmm.
17 to the Giants. And for those who remember, Wilkins was the guy who was viewed as like the higher upside three down lineman. He
Yeah.
was the guy who could get out under your pads and stop the run, but also get skinny and get in the backfield and be a run stopper and a three down lineman. And Dex was largely a two down lineman. And in Clemson, part of that is because of the depth they had, and they would rotate guys. But people thought he might just be a two down run stopper, the way Jordan Davis is for the Eagles now.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that was sort of like what they thought would happen with Dex, and obviously the roles kind of reversed a little bit in the NFL. But Wilkins was a monster, and I don't know the details. There's a lot of details that have to come out about the injury and what he did
Mm-hmm.
in this rehab and what guaranteed money is going to be left, what kind of deal he's available to sign. All that'll work itself out. But Joe Shane and the Giants really need to be on like high on his list of teams to talk to. and for him to visit like right away while he's sorting this out because he wants to play with Dexter Lawrence. I think they both want to play together. That's been kind of documented already. Um, and I don't think he would shy away from the opportunity to come here and figure things out in New York next to Dex, where he could probably feast, right? I mean, just think about it from a contract perspective. If he's on the market to try to re-earn another contract, you could do a lot worse than get on a defensive line that has Dexter Lawrence next to you. And then probably, I'm assuming Darius Alexander starting on the other end with Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau and Abdul Carter. Like, you're going to get a lot of one-on-one matchups just by talent alone on that line. So his production could be higher here than in most places. So this is something that makes sense for everybody, I think, for the Giants, for Dexter Lawrence, for Wilkins. Um, I really hope Joe Shane's looking into it. Obviously, we don't know his medicals, and we have to see what's the real issue. It's a little strange that the Raiders would just cut him.
Hmm.
They have a lot of cap space. They're a young team, but at the same time, you don't know. They have a new GM in Spytech. You don't
Exactly.
know, right? You don't like he wasn't the one who signed him, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and if
And
he
so,
feels like there's an out in here where he can, get a loophole and get out from this deal, that's something he'd probably want to do.
right, and that's the thing. He's not one of his guys. He didn't give him the long-term big contract. So if he again, like I'm not so sure this is not just like he was injured, he was unreliable for us last year. I didn't sign the guy. I want to clear up this cap space and have my own team. I wouldn't be shocked if there's some element of that in this. And I think if you're Wilkins, you want to go somewhere where you can feast because you're gonna have to get a new deal now. So where is he going to feast more than like playing next to Dexter Lawrence again? I just think it makes a ton of sense.
And for the record, I would be open to signing a major deal with Wilkins. Obviously, like you said, the medicals is a big deal here. That's something you have to make sure you look into before you made a major commitment. And even without it, it probably affects the guaranteed money that you're willing to go. But as far as an AAV situation, I would be okay with committing major money to Christian Wilkins just because of the fit with this team, with where you have a couple edge rushers you're not paying right now, and Kayvon Thibodeau and Abdul Carter. You're paying Dexter Lawrence, but you just gave Dexter Lawrence some incentive money, a little raise, a little keep Dexter Lawrence happy. You know how you keep him happy? Bringing his best friend to play next to him. You know how you make this the best defensive line in football? By adding Christian Wilkins to it, man. It seems like a win all around. And like you mentioned it before, we were privileged enough to get that offseason Hard Knocks a season ago, and we learned some cool stuff from it. One of those being that we were going after Christian Wilkins. He was a series. If we didn't trade for Brian Burns, that it sounded like that probably would have been the move that we would have made. So, um, it makes all the sense in the world to me.
Yeah. Um, so we got to see if it happens, but we can have fun today and think about what it looks like when it does, right?
He's a
And I'm
giant.
just, I mean, oh my goodness, dude, a defensive line. I mean, if this is think about this base defense right here. Your defensive line is Dex in the middle, surrounded by Darius Alexander and Christian Wilkins with their hands in the dirt. And then you're rotating Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, Bobby Okereke, and Micah McFadden. Obviously Burns and Carter are probably on the field most of the time. Kayvon's probably right behind them, rotating a little bit with guys. And you're probably using a little mix and match where Carter is playing sometimes for Kayvon, sometimes for McFadden. You know, I mean, that front seven, front eight, and then I didn't even mention Golston, who I really, really liked. I thought he
Mm-hmm.
was a key addition as now Golston becomes your what he right now he's I guess technically he's edge four, um, but he can play on the interior too. I mean, that's a nasty, nasty front seven. You can't run against that front seven. You're gonna have a nasty pass rush. If you can't run against it, you're gonna find yourself in third down a lot, third and long a ton. Like teams are gonna find themselves in third and long a lot against that front seven. It's just bound to happen, right? Way more than we're used to seeing. And that's when you start unleashing guys like Burns, Kayvon, and Carter, right? That's when that pass rush can really take off. It's really the recipe they need to try to make something out of the season that can be better than just, trying to be okay. This is a chance to be really good. And I mean, the Joe Shane, he's got to be all over this. Like the opportunity to take this team to the next level is a player like this. And they don't come along all that often. Like they don't just hit the market all that often like this, where you can just sign them, not have to give up draft capital for them. You
And
got to
probably get
go
him at a
all in for a guy
discount.
like that. Correct. I mean, I didn't look it up. What is he now? Like 26, 27, something like that?
He's a little
Wilkins,
older than you'd think. He's
is
29.
he? Is he?
Yeah, it surprised me too. He must have been old for his class, but so
Okay.
that is worth keeping in mind. What next offseason he will be 30. Similar to like kind of like a Leonard Williams when we let him
When we
walk.
traded him.
So, yep.
Yeah.
So it's that is worth keeping in mind for sure. But I mean, he doesn't have a ton of tread on his tires being in the league. But he is coming off an injury, so that is also something. There's obviously it's not like the biggest no-brainer of all time, but it's pretty up there. like there's certain things between the injury and the age that you like, okay, between how much we have committed on the D line. I get some hesitation here, but I think one thing you nailed on there was obviously pass rush, so that, but this is a team that struggled so much to defend the run. And he would bring so much to that. He's such an incredible run defender. And when you add a guy like Abdul Carter to an edge room that already has Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, it's something that me and you continue to talk about. Like, look, this guy's a great player, but what's our run defense going to look like? A guy like Christian Wilkins can neutralize some of the issues that you're going to have setting the edge, because you can commit more to the outside, knowing that Christian Wilkins and Dexter Lawrence are going to absolutely plug up the middle of that D line.
Yeah, it just frees up everybody, right? Like those two by themselves can wreak havoc on an offensive line and a run game. But like, let's not forget, we just drafted, Alexander, who was very similar as a prototype to what Leonard Williams gave us. He's a monster in the run game. He is a pass rushing, a guy who can get skinny despite his size. Like there are some advantages here that you have up and down that D line, and you could just never have enough impact players is how you have to look at it, right? And these are impact players. They will change the way the game is played for the Giants, change the way teams have to approach the Giants. It'll push teams more in, third and long passing situations where they're going to be in less advantageous down and distance situations than they're used to being against the Giants. And I think that's how you win football games, is you put offenses on their heels a little bit and give your defense a chance to make plays on the football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see some people are in the chat, and maybe they have more information. Maybe they've looked into it, and there's stuff about Christian Wilkins recovering and going well, but I haven't seen anything yet. He had a Jones fracture, and that stuff could linger for a year, and like he might not be the same player of the year, but Jones fracture shouldn't keep you off the field for a year. I mean, you're the doctor here, but that's typically you can come back sometimes in the same season of the Jones fracture.
You can. I hate to do this, but it's my thing is cutting out again, and I promise you guys I'll fix this eventually. But let me just hop out one more time, and I'll be right back.
Okay. I will once again. I'll do a little bit, and let me know, guys, if I'm having any issues or if it's just Sal hearing me. If I'm coming across fine, let me know. But yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything specifically about it, but it feels like that he should be good to play this year.
You were talking about his Jones fracture, I
Mm-hmm.
believe, right? Yeah, I mean, Jones fractures. I mean, that's kind of what that's what Theo Johnson had apparently.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our friend Matt who's actually he's actually a podiatric surgeon, I believe, and so he knows more about this than I do. But that's a lesser injury. Um, it's an injury where there is some hyperextension of like the bones in the foot. Sometimes you need a screw, sometimes you don't, sometimes you need rest, but generally they're much easier to come back from. They're generally far less problematic than like a Liz Frank.
Yeah.
Um, and I think so, yeah, I think that's something that I don't think that you would expect that to be something that holds a player back in general, but we just don't know the details of his health. And again, you do have to kind of question like why are the Raiders cutting him? Like what's
Mm-hmm.
the story here? But But again, I mean, you're going to get a chance to examine him. You're going to get a chance to review his medicals. As you know, he's going around. Every team's going to look at it, and we're going to find out that if he's, if he really is in bad shape physically and a major risk, he's not going to get a multi-year deal. He's not. He might not get any biters for anything more than like a vet minimum, or some incentive-laden contract. But if he is reasonably healthy, and then it's, and teams think that he can play, it's going to tell you the Raiders are just like, new regime. This is a, we view this as a risk we don't want to hang on to, and we have a chance to get out of this.
Yeah,
And I think that's a very real possibility here.
I do as well. Um, it's hard to say for sure, but look, how much could they know about really? I mean, they know about like how it's going to affect him on the field, unless he just can't play. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see soon.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna find out. He's apparently, according to Diana Rossini, he's already out there. Like, his camp is out there planning to meet with teams now. Right? They're lining up the interviews and the team visits and everything. And this is like, yes, 31 teams are going to be interested in Christian Wilkins, obviously. But we have a significant advantage here in Dexter Lawrence, not just as his best friend, but also as a guy who could get him paid again. Again, I'm not so sure he's going to get like a multi-year deal from anybody right now, and I'm not sure he's going to want one. Right? Let's just say
Yeah.
he's losing his guaranteed money, or maybe he'll get some of it. Who knows what's going to happen? But he is going to want to get big money again. Right now, if he's signing at like essentially the bottom of his value. Being
Mhm.
released from a team due to an injury. Do you want to do that if you're Christian Wilkins, or do you want to go somewhere where you get some money for a year, you play and put yourself in a position where you can really rack up production and then
And
hit the market again?
yeah, and to your point, if you signed a 2-3 year deal, you're hitting the market at 31, 32 years old. Instead, you could hit, if you sign a 1 year deal, you get at the market at 30 years old. That's kind of like, you saw how Leonard Williams cashed in. You got one real shot to be like, you just turned 30, you're still young enough to cash in on one more like good multi-year deal.
Yeah, it's going to be curious how it plays out, but I would be surprised if he signed a multi-year deal now, unless, like you said, he's almost 30, and if Joe Shane says, "Look, your medicals look fine to us. We're willing to take the chance on 2 years guaranteed and a 3-year deal or something like that, and just give you the money." Um, Maybe he signs, but I just think that if I'm him, I'm thinking about, playing where I want to play with who I want to play, but specifically from a business standpoint, who's going to help me get the most production? So who's going to let me start,
Mhm.
and who's going to give me the most help on an offensive line where I'm not getting double teamed? He's not getting double teamed playing next to Dexter Lawrence, like,
Or
and with
Abdul
Brian Burns
Carter
or
or Brian Burns. Yeah, man.
right.
It's
Yeah, I mean,
you can't double team him. You can't do it.
you can't double team anybody on the Giants defensive line or defensive front other than Dexter Lawrence, who, if you
Yeah,
don't double team him,
you have
he
to
will
do
wreck
it
every
with
play.
him. Yeah.
Right. So
So everybody
you
else
have
for
to.
himself.
Well, like, let's just imagine the scenario again, right? Like, let's say that's your front three, and then you got our edge rushers, in Carter and Burns and Kayvon. You have to double Dex, right? So let's just assume you're 5 men on the O line, and you have a tight end in there. Your center and your guard are double teaming Dex, and hopefully he's not blowing through it and destroying the play like he typically does anyway. Now you have to account basically one-on-one for both Alexander and Wilkins. You cannot, like, now what do you have left? You have two tackles and a guard left for those two, right?
Hmm.
So let's say one each, right? So you only have like one other player and a tight end, one tackle left and a tight end for Burns, Carter, and or Kayvon.
Yeah,
Like,
depending on how many
there
you're
are going,
sending.
yeah, like, you can't block everybody, right? And
Yeah.
if you are trying to block everybody, you've now limited yourself to such a personnel grouping that it is going to reduce your probability of producing explosive plays. You've substantially reduced your offensive game plan just to stop the pass rush from destroying your team. This is a big time cheat code if you can get your hands on him.
Yeah, reality is, and probably base fronts with Bowen, it's probably most of the time going to be, in this case, it'd be Dexter Lawrence and Christian Wilkins. Then you'll have two of those edge rushers on the outside, probably send four, at least sending them. As far as what you're going to send, you probably send four of those guys. And like I said, you two for Dexter Lawrence, you'll put one on Christian Wilkins, one on probably Brian Burns, and one on Abdul Carter. Everybody except for Dexter Lawrence gets one-on-ones.
And the
But you got to
Giants
put a
on a
tight end.
passing. Yeah, but the Giants. Here's how the Giants can counter that very easily. And I don't know what Bowen's going to do, but you can have your base three guys out there, and you can take McFadden off the field, and you put Carter in, and he's peppering the A gap. Now what? Right? He's lining
Mhm.
up right behind Dexter Lawrence with Kayvon and Burns lined up as edge rushers with both Wilkins and Alexander outside of Dex. How the hell are you blocking this?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's almost you're basically depending on a running back to stop a guy like Abdul Carter. It's almost impossible for it to work. The only way a team can fight that is if they just try to run into it and hopefully get a gain, or they just pass the ball so fast that there's almost zero chance of producing anything that's going to hurt a
And
defense, and a high probability of putting the ball in harm's way. Right? This is where like the secondary comes in and they have to be in attack mode. But it's just the kind of problem you want to have if you're a defense. It just
yeah,
creates mismatches up and down that line.
yeah, and I mean to your point, like yeah, it's exciting to think about like all the people you have seen. Also, all the people you can keep rested and have fresh pass rushers constantly coming in and attacking. But even if you're only sending four, that's a good thing because you have four guys who are going to get a pass rush every single time because you cannot block those guys one on one. And Dexter Lawrence makes it so you have to block them one on one.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, so like if you're the Giants, you have to want this, and if you're the rest of the league, you're trying your hardest, especially if you're the NFC East teams. You're doing everything you can to stop him from ending up on the Giants right now,
I can see
because that's where
Washington
you know
going
he, he
after
you
him.
know he wants to go there.
Yeah. A Washington would make a lot of sense because they didn't do a lot to help their defense this offseason.
I'm having that same problem. Here's what I'm gonna do, dude. I'm gonna log off and I'm gonna try to log in that other way. So if you hold it
Okay.
down, let me see if that works better.
All right. Yeah. I'll see you in a second. All right. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna talk about training camp here in a second, so I'm gonna wait for Sal. But let me just hit you guys with some of the PFF numbers. Sorry for the technical difficulties here, guys. But we won't talk about last year because last year he didn't play a ton of snaps. But 2023 in Miami, he had a 71.8 PFF grade, which isn't all that a crazy number, but he had 61 pressures from the interior defensive line. And that consisted of 10 sacks, 17 hits, and 34 hurries. And keep in mind, if you look up his raw stats, probably going to say he has 9 sacks. The way PFF does it is a half a sack is counted the same as a full sack. That's just kind of how they do it. But um, really, really good year. But the year before, I think, was almost more impressive. Like the 11.3 missed tackle rate the year before. I mean, in 2023, but look back at 2022. In 2022, he had 98 tackles. He had 98 tackles with a 4% missed tackle rate. That is insane. Dude did not miss tackles and was just a machine. He played over 1,000 snaps for Miami that year. And so he played 1,000 in 2022 in 2022. And then he played 968 in 2023. He played almost 2,000 snaps between those two seasons. So, obviously he got hurt this last year. But this is a guy who has been on the field nonstop, never came off the field for Miami. Again, this is a guy who has a history with Dexter Lawrence. This is somebody who would be just an incredible fit, and I don't think those injury issues are going to carry on for him. Welcome back, Sal. I was just talking about how Christian Wilkins had played before he got hurt last year. He played about 2,000 total snaps between 2022 and 2023.
Yeah, he's a beast. By the way, I fixed my login. Hopefully this fixes the problem. So
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, dude, he has been a workhorse until last year. He's done a ton, he's has a ton of reps. He's a three down player. This is what he was at Clemson too. He was just a workhorse. Um, he doesn't come off the field as long as he's healthy, basically. I think that's the issue. Is as long as he's healthy, you don't take him off the field. Dex doesn't come off the field except when you want to give him a breather, basically. Um,
Hmm.
it's just I don't know. We can go on and on about this for hours and hours. And it's fun to think about all the things he brings and how good it would be for this team and the run defense, the synergy, the repertoire with I mean excuse me, the rapport the rapport with rapport with Dexter Lawrence, just all of it, the mixing and matching. Again, it just to me it comes down to two things. Like one, the Giants need to be on the phone to go get him right now, and two, you just have to make sure that the medicals check out where he can play this year. That's it. I think those are the only two things that matter. And if they do, I don't know if you were talking about the money or not, but you tweeted about it, and I feel like this is like Joe Shane has been relatively conservative with the cap,
Hmm.
to his credit, right? Like even when he was being a shitty GM overall, and we
Yeah.
were killing him. Like the one thing where you could always say about Joe Shane was like he's very good with the cap. He's conservative. He's not ruining our future. He's kind of a pay it as we go kind of GM,
Hmm.
and it's why he runs out of cap space every year, right? Like people kill him for it, but the reason he does is because he doesn't want to eat into next year too much. That's always been his philosophy, right? And
Yeah, that's why
that
we're dealing with him not having a backup kicker or
right.
ready because he
It's
doesn't
why
want to carry the extra
it's
man on the roster.
it's why our roster generally has sucked
Yeah.
midseason because you're depending on young players and guys get hurt. But over time, what's happened is like he has the last couple of drafts and last a couple of off season, he has added like more quality players to the roster, right? That fill out that depth and push the depth chart a little further back. And he's got that room to go. And the big thing is that, yeah, this year we have $25 million tied up in Daniel Jones, but sorry to say his name. Um,
Yeah.
but we don't have, like we drafted a rookie quarterback, right? And the whole point of having a rookie quarterback without a lot of money tied up into the quarterback position is that frees up your salary cap to do whatever the hell you want to build around that rookie quarterback. And that means you don't wait for like the perfect moment. In my mind, it means when a good player and an opportunity presents itself, you pounce on it and you take that player, you push that money back. Again, pending, physical help, but you do it, right? You get guys like this. You lock them up and put them on your roster and you build around that rookie, that young quarterback. So when he's ready to take over the team, he's got a loaded roster around him.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. And like I said, this is the time. Like you were patient. You're finally getting a position where it's put up or shut up. And I respect what he did, where he didn't just like go and spend money like a drunken sailor, like we expected him to do. And what I would have done if I was in his job, I would have done that to save my job.
He didn't do
And I
it.
and I respect him for not doing that. But this isn't that. I know, you could perceive it as that, but this is just a perfect situation falling in your lap. Jay Ferry's, mentioned something, and I wanted to look it up, and he is right. So this is what I see from the Athletic. Before OTAs began, the Raiders informed Wilkins that he needed a second surgery on his foot, according to a league source. Wilkins disagreed and didn't get the procedure. A league source said that sparked a back and forth over the last few months and led to the Raiders ultimately deciding to move on from Wilkins. So,
But it sounds like he had multiple opinions,
mhm,
right? So it's not like he's just saying, I'm not doing it because I'm not doing it. I mean, I don't know the whole story, but it sounds like he's had multiple opinions. And look, I can tell you that medical opinions vary, right? I
mhm,
mean, it's a lot of art, mixed in with the science, and a lot of it, I'm not an orthopedist, I'm not a podiatrist, but you know, from my standpoint, like you can have the same person come to you with the exact same problem you're seeing somebody else for, and you both, multiple specialists can possess all the same data and all the same knowledge, but just from their own experience or their own acumen or just their general feel for things can say, I would do things a little bit differently here, right? That's what getting other opinions is about. So if he went and got, I'm assuming, expert opinions. I don't know who the Raiders team doctors are. I have no idea. But if he went and got other opinions from other people, I'm assuming he would have gone to some of the best people in the country. He can
mhm,
certainly afford to do that. And if he heard from outside consultants that are perhaps maybe I would dare say better than the folks you might get in Las Vegas. Um, I don't think Las Vegas is known for its elite healthcare, to be totally honest. Not nothing wrong with it, but I'm just saying, there are greater places for orthopedic procedures and podiatric procedures. If you got an outside opinion, they were like, look, we wouldn't do surgery on this. You should play on it, and here's how you rehab it. And he's saying, no, I don't want to have surgery. That's the kind of thing where a team could say, well, you're in the wrong and you need surgery, and our team doctors say this, and our team is saying you got to do this, and you're in violation of your contract with us because you're doing something outside of our prescribed recovery plan, and therefore your contract is void. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening here. So that doesn't mean he's wrong. I
Hmm.
just want to make that clear. Like that doesn't mean that he absolutely needs surgery because the Raiders say so. He might have gotten better opinions where they're like, no, you don't really need it. And he's probably relying on that, and they're probably using this to void his contract. And maybe there's like we think there might be a little bit more afoot where the Raiders would be more than happy to just walk away from the contract.
Hmm.
They're welcoming him to leave, basically.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think I think there's a little truth and a little bit of all of it right now. And we've beat the death a little bit, but Christian Wilkins, you're a giant. He's
Yeah,
a giant.
he's absolutely a giant. Line him up and dream up what life looks like with Wilkins and Darius Alexander alongside Dexter Lawrence. Good luck with that, Washington Commanders. We'll see you week 1.
Ryan Disdier, get the jersey swap going.
Let's go. All right, so we'll see how that plays out. We're both crossing our fingers on this one. I think a lot of people are, and hoping that
Definitely.
it works out. But like I said, the thing to look for, the last thing I'll say, the thing to look for in this story as it plays out, and you're going to hear stories from NFL reporters, is pay attention to what guys in the know say about how Wilkins handled his medical opinion, right? And what kind of opinions he got and where the disagreement is. I'm just willing to bet based on what I've seen so far that it's what I just said, that the Raiders want one thing, his specialists or his personal specialists are saying something else, and he's disagreeing because he's saying I don't want surgery, which any human being would say, and the Raiders are just jumping at the chance to say, okay, contract void. Um,
Hmm.
so we'll see how it plays out. There is some other giant stuff going on. The training camp just started the other day, and as per usual, there's the usual ups and downs and highs and low reaction. People are going crazy about certain things. I try
As
not to pay
always.
attention. Yeah, I try not to pay attention to this because it's just bananas, right? It's fun and it's hard to
Hmm.
ignore it, but you got to take everything in training camp with a significant grain of salt, both good and bad. You
At
see a
least we're
rep
getting
and you're like, oh my
videos
God.
now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's good. Hopefully the Giants don't like start yelling at people and making them take it down again. Um,
Yeah.
but we got some interesting stuff. I mean, I think the take home I got from the first day was like the big take home. And this has been my contention all along, is that yes, it's pads are off and it's you don't want to interpret too much, but it's pretty damn clear that like there's a substantial improvement in quarterback play. Like we haven't seen
Oh yeah.
quarterbacks with back shoulder fades and proper timing and dropping it in a bucket. Like we just haven't seen that for years, not even in freaking training camp. And this is just like normal stuff that quarterbacks do, and Russell Wilson's obviously doing it. And that's my biggest source of optimism for the upcoming season.
It makes the normal things you expect from your quarterback seem like such elite things in a quarterback. Watching Russell Wilson, it's it reminds me a little bit of the ending days of Eli Manning, and watching that, comparing it to Eli Manning and before, you're like, I can't fucking do this, man. Like this isn't a quarterback. This isn't what we've been watching. And then you watch Daniel Jones for 6 years, like, you know what? Maybe that wasn't so bad. And now we're kind of back to that with Russell Wilson. The guy's a little bit cooked, but he's still, a veteran quarterback who knows what to do, knows how to push the ball to the end zone, can get through his reads, can manipulate a defense.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's like it's just simple stuff, right? Like, so I posted I was going through in one of our chats. There's a lot of let's just say people I often interact with, I have a disagreement with, and like on the outlook of this season. And I think there a lot of people are very down on the team and they don't think they're going to be any good. And I understand that. Like honestly, like they've been so crappy for so long. I get the show it to me first before I believe you. approach as a Giants fan, and I don't begrudge anybody who has it. But my source of optimism, has always been that the Giants have been playing football for the last 6 years coming into this season, like a person trying to do pull-ups with like a 200-pound weight tied to their like their waist, right? Like you're
Mhm.
trying to pull up extra weight, and that weight, that 200-pound weight dragging you down, was a quarterback that couldn't function, or he couldn't do normal shit. He couldn't read a defense, couldn't do call line protections, he couldn't make throws on time, he couldn't throw a back shoulder fade, he couldn't do any of the basic stuff other than run. He couldn't do anything that would help his teammates out, and not only was that a problem in the way he played, but it was a problem in the way his teammates were able to perform. It was a problem in the way coaches were able to call a football game. When you see that, and that's the guy that's holding the football, and he was under center, and I'm pretty convinced Brian Dable was done with this guy from like the second time, from like the after the Cowboys game, week 1 2023, even though he advocated to sign him supposedly. Um, but once that's the guy, like you're gonna craft the game plan you think you can use to get something out of him, which is going to be limited,
Yeah.
right? And you're going to tell your receivers to run routes that are limited to make it easy for the guy. You're going to call a limited game, and we saw that for years. You just remove that guy, and all of a sudden you're doing a pull up with no 200-pound weight tied to your
Mhm.
body. You're just doing a regular pull up. You're gonna do a shit ton of pull ups. You're gonna be strong as
Yeah.
shit. And I feel like that effect is gonna hit the Giants this year. I feel like on offense, everybody will see that boost. It's gonna feel like that weight is off them, and they can just play. And they can actually open up the playbook, and each player can do a little bit more. I'm not expecting miraculous improvements from everybody, but what if every player is 15-20% more
Mhm.
productive, 15-20% more able to do what they're capable of doing? That all adds up to a substantially improved team. And I think that's what I expect to see this year.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't expect much for the offense as a whole, but I mean, to the point that you're making is like, what you're looking at from like last year is you're looking at a bottom five offensive line. You're looking at, I mean, maybe you could say the wide receiver core is like in the middle of the league purely because Malik Neighbors is so good. Bottom five tight ends, like you bottom 10 running back room. Like you have a lot of like low things, but when you have a Russell Wilson in there, not that's he's not Patrick Mahomes, but a guy who can lift the offense, you can do more with and actually run the offense you want to run, like you were talking about. O-line might look closer to, 20. Wide receiver
Or
core might look closer to like sitting outside the top 10. I think that's possible with a Darius Slayton and a Malik
mm,
Neighbors looking like a true wide receiver one. I
I don't
mean,
know
I
about top
think
10, but
not
I think
not
but
not top 10, but outside. Like after all the teams that have like the true stud number two, I think we could fall in right around there potentially. And I'm not counting on them. I'm just saying like could could Cam Scatterbo and Tyron Tracy be a 1,400-yard rushing group together? That's possible. Like
yeah,
that you could be middle of the pack everywhere with a middle of the pack quarterback, and your offense is 16th in the league, 20th in the league, and that's still not going to be enough to be a Super Bowl team this year. This offense needs a lot of work, but it's going to look entirely different from what we've had in the past.
it's going to look very different than we had in the past. I actually posted something, this morning, a tweet about just using advanced stats just to kind of counter some of the stuff I've been seeing. The more bearish quotes about the Giants. I'm going to try to pull it up, but it got into what I think is a discussion about what people think the Giants' offensive line will be, and they're saying, well, it's not really any better, they haven't improved it, and I disagree personally, but I understand why people would say that. I disagree mainly because I think Evan Neal, I do believe he's going to end up winning a spot as a starting guard, and I think that helps the run game. And I disagree simply because I think that Andrew Thomas will be more healthy this year than he
Mhm.
has been in the past, and I disagree because I think quarterback play will make a difference. But let's just, for argument's sake, say that they do struggle a little bit. the best help an O line can get is a decisive quarterback, right? A guy who can read a defense and make a quick play. Well, here's some stats on Russell Wilson and why he's not really super O line dependent. He's a guy that takes a lot of sacks. He does because sometimes he holds on to the ball too long, trying to make some superhero plays and stuff that worked for him when he was younger. And as he's getting older, I think he's less able to make those plays.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But he's also a guy who can quickly read a defense, identify his downfield target, and rip it quickly. So I pulled up. This is a very specific set of stats, but the 2024 PFF rankings for all quarterbacks who qualified, so at least guys who played at least half the year, essentially, for throws under 2.5 seconds. So this is literally your snap the football, take no more than like a three-step drop, basically diagnose pre-snap where you're going, see it quickly and release. Right. And here's where he ranked in that category. Overall grade, 93.2, second in the NFL. Passing grade, 92.1, second in the NFL. Big time throws, 14, second in the NFL. Big time throw rate, 7.2%, number one in the NFL. Turnover worthy throws, one, tied for first in the NFL. And the average depth of target on those throws under 2.5 seconds, 6.5 yards, second in the NFL. That's pretty fucking impressive for a guy to who can diagnose and get the ball. All that tells me is if you can give him a look, right? If this is where Brian Dable comes in and where Mike Kafka come in, and quite frankly, where Malik Neighbors comes in, and where Wandell Robinson comes in, and Darius Slayton, right? Say what you want about them, but those guys are very good at separation. We know Neighbors is Neighbors, right? He's probably going to be he's probably going to produce at a top 3 to top 5 level this year as long as he stays healthy. But Darius Slayton is one of the best separators in the NFL. Like year over year, he's one of the better separating wide receivers in the NFL, especially on vertical routes. Wandell Robinson is one of the better separators in the NFL. It's all underneath, but he is. If you have a quarterback who can do that when he makes a quick decision and he can identify a receiver he wants to get the ball to quickly, and you have receivers who can quickly get open and quickly separate, is it really that hard to see the Giants taking advantage of those combination of things to produce explosive plays and points? I think you're muted.
I am indeed. I said it. I said it this offseason. I think that Russell Wilson's going to be a great fit for Brian Dable, and obviously it's not perfect. He doesn't use the middle of the field and things like that as much as you'd like, but getting a guy who can challenge the defense deep and do it early and often and really challenge that defense, I think is going to help this offense so much. It's going to open up so much underneath for us. It's going to open up the run game. And guys like Darius Slayton, guys like Jamie, should I say it? Jalen Hyatt, maybe could actually have a role this year.
He's a fit with him.
What Wandell Robinson maybe can do something other than catch the ball 100 times for 6 yards.
Listen, man, I just feel like like you said, I think the marriage of Dable, Russell Wilson, and some of the receivers we have on this team, I think, when you put the names on paper, are they like a top 10, top 15 unit? I don't know about that. Like I think they're maybe an average unit at best as a wide receiver unit, even with Malik Neighbors being an elite wide receiver. But the marriage of the prototypes of receivers they have with Russell Wilson and the scheme they might deploy with Brian Dable. Obviously, I hope Kafka calls plays this year, but obviously Dable will have a big input in the offense. It's a good marriage. It makes sense. It's schematically going to match what Russell Wilson is very good at. And what Russell Wilson is really good at matches the philosophy that Brian Dable wants to use to establish his offense. He wants to push the ball down the field. He wants to be more vertical with the offense. He wants to create points via explosive plays. And if there's any real big criticism of Dable and his offense, it's the lack of a run game.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty certain that if you can consistently threaten down the field with your quarterback and your receivers, that will make life a lot easier for your running backs. I mean, that's just obvious, right? They're just gonna
Yeah.
defenses have to respect it. The defenses haven't respected the Giants' passing offense in 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
They just haven't. Like Saquon Barkley was always facing, a downhill defense. Never worried about Daniel Jones beating them over top. Half the time they weren't even covering half the field. If Russell Wilson's spraying the ball all over the field, whether it's working or not, if all it has to do is hit a few times a game, defenses can't do that anymore, right? Then you have enough space for a one cut runner like Tracy to cause some damage. You have enough room for a guy like Scadaboo to get in the open field and start causing damage. I mean, it does complement itself pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with you. And that's kind of that's a big thing to look out for. And I think it's something a lot of people are excited about. A lot of things that we haven't seen in a long time, and something that I'm going to enjoy watching this season. It's not watching Daniel Jones is going to be a plus this year. But the other thing on the topic to watch is we have a young quarterback. We have Jackson Dart, and that's been an interesting watch as well from the other side. It's complete opposite in the sense. It's not watching a guy who knows exactly what he's doing. It's watching a guy figuring that stuff out. And it's something we talked about. It's great having Russell Wilson here to help show him those type of things and a guy to learn from. But one comment I really liked from Jackson Dart was he had, I think it was today when he got intercepted by Trey Hawkins. He's been intercepted both days so far, but essentially they're like asking him like, did you see him there? And he's like, I saw him. I just am trying to figure out what I can do and what I can't do in the NFL. And that's what this is for. That's why you're
Yeah,
not playing yet.
right.
That's what these guys like always
Throw the
like,
throw the football, throw the pick. Just learn what you learn from it. That's all.
which is always like, I hated, like, always hate the comments and people in like college, like, oh, you're not gonna get away with that in the NFL. It's like, well, he can get away with it in college. So that's where the fuck he's throwing it. And he's gonna get to the NFL and he's gonna figure out if he can throw it. And if he can't throw it, he won't. But you got to
Right.
figure that out first.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning came out there and would throw. And I know everybody hates comparing Peyton Manning as a rookie because he was an anomaly, but he talks about it all the time. He went out there, he threw like the same pick 3 times in the same game. He's like, he's like, I can make this throw. I can make this throw. I can make this throw. And he's like, I guess I can't make that throw. It's just a learning experience.
Yeah. And this is sort of why, like, again, to be fair, we were not ultra high on Jackson Dart relative to the whole class. I think we had him as QB 4 or 5, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the one thing we did say was there's talent here. This kid is talented.
Mm-hmm.
I think you made the comment, like, I could definitely see him becoming a starter in the NFL if he's allowed to learn and develop, right?
Yep.
I agree with that. My view on that has not changed. I know there are people there are people that I respect a lot in Giants Twitter, friends of mine who really badly want to see Dart play as soon as possible. I personally don't want any part of it. I
Mm-hmm.
don't. And it's not because I don't want Jackson Dart to succeed. It's because I do want Jackson Dart to succeed.
Yeah.
And I mean, if our evaluation is totally off, so be it. But I did not see a quarterback that I felt was ready to throw into the fire right away and expect success. I think this is a guy, like you said, what he deserves is the opportunity to play in camp, learn, playing scout team, see what he can get away with, because that Lane Kiffin offense, I mean, it is very different than with the stuff he's going to be
Mm-hmm.
allowed to do in the NFL, just because of the way, number one, the hash marks are different, right? And that's a big part of that. And number two, like defenses they'll not get beat as badly in the NFL. Like his receivers were able to torch guys, in college, and he's not going to be able to get away with some of that stuff. And that's okay, but I want him to learn. He has a good arm. He's an athletic kid. He's got a great attitude. He's got that like competitive fire. I want him to learn and be good. So I take your lumps in training camp, throw your picks, do whatever you got to do. Learn under Dable, learn under Russell Wilson, learn under Jameis. I mean, Jameis is a former number 1 pick, and that's a talented guy who, I love Jameis, but like he's the guy that a lot of times those are the guys you can learn the most from, right? He can be like, yeah, I was number 1 overall. Here's where I went wrong. Here's what didn't work for
Yep.
me. Just learn. You have a wealth of knowledge at your disposal. I just want him to learn. I don't want him to be rushed. Let him get good. I don't want to see him ideally at all this year. I'm on like other than like coming late in games or something. I don't want to see him because that to me that means that he's being allowed the time to learn, and it means the team is winning enough games where it's not a concern of theirs. That to me is the ideal scenario.
Yeah, it. I want this kid to make mistakes. I want him to do it now. And like, look, don't remember. Would I prefer that he was coming out and ripping out all over the yard and was perfect day one? Sure, but it's not realistic. And I'd much rather this than babying the kid and not having him actually learn how to run an NFL offense like we did with
Right.
Daniel Jones for the last
Right.
fucking 4 years. Let this kid go out there, let him make mistakes, and figure it out would be a quarterback. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, fans are gonna criticize him, that's fine. If you can't deal with fans criticizing you throwing interceptions at practice, then you don't deserve to be in the NFL because you're not fucking tough enough. I don't give a shit about that. Just but I'm gonna sit here, keep letting them do it. Brian Dable, keep putting him out there. Keep putting him out there against give him reps against our first D. Keep having him push the ball downfield. And Brian Dable said it, the goal is to get better every single day. So I'm happy with what's going on so far, but I'm not going to get too high or too low no matter what I see either. Like, we've had days where the entire beat was like the first time they saw him, like, this is the kid, then they're shitting on him the next week. It's what's going to happen.
Yeah. I just I don't want any part of that for him. I want him to be successful for years to come. So yes, take your lumps in training camp, get your ass out there in preseason games, grip it and rip it, do whatever you got to do, learn, go back to the drawing board, figure things out, make adjustments. Whenever you do play, I'm sure he will play at some point this year, in some way, shape, or form. Just learn and be ready to go when it's time. But again, I'm not overanalyzing anything with Jackson Dart at all right now. Like, I think it's crazy. People are getting too high, too low. Like, just let him play.
Well,
Um, the quarterback room looks impressive. Like, I mean, it's better. Like, quite frankly, it's better. Russell Wilson makes it a lot better. Jackson Dart has talent. It just feels good again. There are other players on the team. You saw Malik Neighbors dominate. That's not
he's
surprising.
so good.
All this talk about, oh, his toe, his injury. I mean, he sure looked
It's
fine to me. He
it is interesting though that he's I don't know how you felt about it. His comment was just him talking about it was so interesting. He didn't like play it up or anything like that, but just like didn't at all talk it down. He's like, we need surgery on it. He's like, I don't know. We'll see. Like,
No, I mean he clearly has it, and it's probably not the last we're going to hear of this injury.
yeah.
But this is also a kid we saw play last year through injury, right?
Yeah.
He's pretty tough. Like, he'll play
Yeah,
through
he's
it.
gonna play.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not worried about him not playing. I want to be okay. I want him to fuck it
Well,
up.
he's young. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not. We'll worry about it when we worry about it.
Yeah.
Like, right now he was. I mean, so there's this one rep that was being shown today. I saw people criticizing it. I couldn't believe what the fuck I was listening to. There was the play where he lined up against a Debo. Do you see
Mhm.
that one? I mean, a Debo has great coverage on him. I mean, he tries to jam him at the line and press, and of course, Neighbors runs around it. He runs with Neighbors. He follows him all over the field into the back of the end zone. He covers him all the way, but Neighbors hits him with like a quick move at the end. Like, who the hell is going to keep up with that? With like a
Mhm.
quick twitch move in the back of the end zone, essentially. And as Neighbors turns, like, the ball is placed perfectly by Russell Wilson in a
Mhm.
spot where only Neighbors can catch it. And of course, Neighbors is like at the edge of the sideline of the end zone, and he just does it like, with perfect footwork, perfect little toe tap touchdown, right? You can't defend that.
No.
There's nothing you can do about that. Like, you could, I mean, I would dare say Patrick Surtain would have a hard time defending that, right? He
Mhm.
might do a better job of jamming him at the line. But other than that, like, like, it's a tough thing to defend Malik Neighbors. He's ridiculous. And Russell Wilson's time, this is where Russell Wilson's timing and his ball placement is going to make a big difference, right? If you good
Mhm.
timing and ball placement with Neighbors, it's going to be very tough to defend. You saw Wandale Robinson make some plays today. He had a beautiful, like, one-handed catch in the end zone. Um, you saw Daniel Bellinger get a perfectly placed ball for a touchdown, where the ball was placed just between two defenders. I mean, you're seeing these guys look better. Theo Johnson cooked Javon Holland on a nice route. You're seeing some talent begin to show, and quarterbacks are actually able to use it a little bit. They may just be a lot more, well, not, I won't say a lot more, but they may just be more talented across the board than people gave them credit for. you put a good quarterback or just a decent quarterback in the mix, and I think a lot of the perception of each individual position group is going to change substantially.
Now, what's going to be really interesting to see is when we get pads on and how these guys can do when they're going to be under a shitstorm of pass rushers with Andrew Thomas sitting out for a while.
Jabri is here. Shout out Jabri. I want to give him a real shout out because he's been running like 5 miles a day and working out. So I highly encourage the healthy lifestyle. Um, I kind of wish he would not, eat Pop Tart ice cream or whatever the fuck he ate the other day afterwards. But, but I've been encouraging him. He's doing a good job. And Jabri was right. Jabri's been talking about the Christian Wilkins, Dexter Lawrence reunion for years now. So he's about to get his wish if we can do this correctly. So
The
so good
guys,
job on
really.
Jabri. Yeah. No, dude, I think like the wide receiver room, I think it looks okay. It looks like pretty decent. The tight end room, big,
Tight end room's
don't
interesting.
it is. Let's talk about that for a second. I mean, obviously they have a lot of eggs in the Theo Johnson basket. He is
Mhm.
obviously very athletic. He's a fucking truck of a human being. He's huge. If he can develop a little bit, big target, good player. Chris Manhertz is a Goliath of a blocker. That guy's
And
a tank.
see the picture of all the tight ends together, tight ends and wide receivers together with Russell Wilson, Chris Manhertz, and Theo Johnson, just in different ways, just look fucking gigantic.
They look like they're bouncing for the rest of the fucking team. Like they're
Yeah.
huge. And Manhurst is making this team. You need a tight end that can block
Mhm.
at an elite level like that. So he's going to make the team. Johnson's making the team. What's interesting is how many tight ends will they carry, right? Are they going to go
Yeah.
three or four? Bellinger's a good football player. He's a good all around player. There's nothing wrong with Bellinger. He had like a 90% catch rate his rookie year before the eye injury and stuff. Um, but Thomas Fidoni's been looking pretty good. Dino Dom. Matt Wallman's guy,
Mhm.
Matt Wallman was all gushing about him today on the timeline. Dino Dong
I
is looking
saw.
good, and he's a good receiver, not a great blocker, but a good receiver. And the question is, what do you want with that third tight end? Do you want a more all around guy like Bellinger, or do you want Dino Dong, who can be more of a threat as a receiver with a ridiculously long wingspan, who can help you in the pass game, who's going to be cheap, and Bellinger is going to hit you with the $3 million cap hit, right? And that
That
I
was an
don't they
interesting point with
yeah.
I know Justin brought that up, and I know
Hmm.
some people have been, up in arms a little bit, which kind of surprised me how people reacted to that. Because once I heard it, I don't know how you felt. I was kind of like, yeah, move on from Bellinger then. Like, I don't know, dude. Like,
There's nobody in this tight end room that's so good that I wouldn't move on from them, to be totally honest. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
well,
people
like
are,
Noah Fant got released the other day, right? And it like I wouldn't be opposed like in if you had the ability to get a guy like him. He's a
mhm,
pretty damn good. He's better than anybody we have,
yeah.
honestly, right? So like I wouldn't. There's not one person in this tight end room I wouldn't move on from for like a guy like Noah Fant who's a proven veteran. So yeah, I mean I don't think any of them are so special that I'm that worried about cutting or trading any of them.
That's kind of where, like, I've heard people say, like, well, Bellinger's the best tight end in the team. It's like, maybe, but like, is he that much better than Greg Dulcich? Like,
I think I've always been a Bellinger guy, right? He's a
I'm
really good. I
too.
think I think he's a good player, and I think that he's going to end up having a pretty decent NFL career because he'll probably, if he has a good agent, land on a team that knows how to use a guy with his skill set. Like I can see him
Hmm.
going to like the Rams or whatever. Right? Like these are teams that like guys like him, right? Like that kind of all around tight end. Um, but he's not so much better than these other guys that it's worth $3 million more a year.
Yeah, that's the
That's
thing, man.
yeah.
Like, look, I like him. I thought the idea of cutting him last year when that was going around was stupid as hell. But the thing is, he didn't do anything last year. I know that was partly because the coaching staff didn't want to do anything with him, but like, why do we suddenly think he's going to do anything this year with Theo Johnson? Another, and again, I'll repeat it. Is he that much better than Greg Dulcich? Greg Dulcich had a better rookie year than him. They're the same class. He was drafted higher than him, I believe. Like, we have that guy just sit, like, Greg Dulcich is like, why can't he replace Bellinger for $3 million less?
He can. Well, I mean, I
Like,
don't see how Fedoni doesn't actually win that job. I'll be honest, because
mm-hmm,
Fedoni might be the better receiver out of all three of them anyway, right?
mm-hmm,
And he is probably a better offensive threat. They
and
just
he can
drafted him.
block.
and he's an okay blocker, right? But he's a pretty damn good receiver. Like he's a good mover in space. Like that's it's tight end three, right? Like, are you really obsessing over tight end three that much? I mean, it's good to have a guy. I mean, if I'm put it this way, you can find a blocking tight end mid-season. Like there's some guy out there. Like if you lose Manhurts, you can get someone off the street. Seriously, you can get someone off the street who can block for you. It's really not that complicated. You'll find those guys.
Yeah, not the
A
man
rec-
level, but
no, not to that level. But if you need a guy who can be a blocker, right? The Bear
Mhm.
Pascos of the world, right? The
You can put a
the
offensive
the
lineman
Cr-
and do jumbo like.
the Chris Manhurts of the world. Those guys are available all the time.
Mm.
But what I want in tight end three is a guy who's actually going to be a threat to stretch the field a little bit. A guy who can be an offensive threat. Because if I lose Johnson to injury, and remember he's coming off a Jones injury, right? I need a receiver. I need a guy who can be a receiver and be a big target receiver. And Bellinger's good. Fedoni can, I think, do it a little bit better than him. So I
So
think I'm picking
give you
Fedoni as one.
Dino Dong.
Dino Dong. Tight end three. Yeah,
Yeah,
Dino
I,
Dong.
I I agree with you. No, I agree with you. I mean, Theo Johnson gonna get a chance to prove that he can be the guy this year. I'm not 100% sure he can be that, but he should and will get the opportunity to prove he's that guy. Make said Manhurt's going to be on this team. Manhurt's a good blocker. He's an important part of the team, and yeah, Fedoni should be a three. And to be honest with you, if we're caring for tight ends, it's Dolchich to me, not Bellinger.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, for the 3 million, I
Yeah,
don't, I can't
exactly.
disagree with you. It's hard because that's money that you can put somewhere else. What if that pays for another cornerback that you could use, right?
Hmm.
Would you not get that cornerback because you want to hold on to Daniel Bellinger over Greg Dulcich? That sounds fucking crazy, right? Like you probably are gonna. To me, what's gonna happen, I think, is Bellinger is gonna be offered the Darius Slayton treatment from a
Yeah,
couple of years ago.
and that's fine. If we want to keep him that way, that's fine.
If they want to carry four tight ends and they decide he's in that group of four, they're gonna
Correct.
say to him, we want to keep you on the roster, but you got to take a pay cut down to basically like a vet min deal at this point. If you're willing to do that, we'll keep you. If you're not, we'll let you go. I think it'll be that simple, right? And then
Mm.
it's going to be his choice because they have enough guys where they don't need to pay him. Like I think it would be bananas for the Giants to pay Bellinger 3 million this year. Not trying to touch any man's money. That's not the point. But I just think from a business standpoint, it makes zero sense for them to do it. Like he should either play on the vet min for them or they can let him go elsewhere.
Also, I'm gonna say this. I don't think this is crazy. You tell me if it's crazy. I don't think it's crazy that if we just cut him at the 53 man that we'd be able to get him back in the practice squad.
He might like he hasn't
I
done
don't think that's
anything
a
in the
yeah.
NFL. It just hasn't done anything in
I
the
don't
NFL.
think
Like
anyone's gonna claim him. I wouldn't claim him.
I mean, some team might sign him, but it probably wouldn't be more than like a roster
Yeah,
bubble guy
m-
at best.
yeah. Maybe he gets signed once he clears waivers to get on a 53 man. Maybe that.
I mean, look, you don't know who's going to get hurt in camp. Teams
Mhm.
might need a tight end two, whatever it is. Like, I mean, who knows, right? But yeah, I'm not losing sleep over the Bellinger situation. I think it's crazy to be obsessed over that at this point in year four when he's really done nothing all these years.
It
Um,
it would take a hell of a preseason for me to be like, all right, keep this guy for
yeah, if he
what he's
earns
getting
it,
paid.
if he earns it, that's different, right?
Yes,
But I
not
just
to that. Not off what he's
yeah,
done.
no, no, and I have a hard time seeing he's gonna earn it with all the other guys ahead of him on the depth chart. To be totally honest,
Mhm.
running back room, not seeing a ton yet, but you've seen a little bit of Cam Scattaboo. You saw a route where he showed his ability. I don't know if you saw the clip, but he showed his ability to run routes.
Mhm.
And he's running with Bobby Okereke in coverage, and he beats him. He's got separation on him over the middle, and the ball gets swatted away by Okereke because Tommy DeVito can't throw a football. I don't know if you saw that, but
Well, that's what happens with the mascot at quarterback.
yeah, no offense, Tommy, if you're watching, but that was pretty
Mm.
bad. But what it showed me was they had Scatterbo doing something that is a very underrated part of his game. I think people don't appreciate it unless you watched a lot of him in college. He's a really good route runner, and he's a very good receiver. And I think that's you can just see the Giants using him in that capacity with the bulk of the carries going to Tyrone Tracy overall in games. but this guy being there to basically mix it up and be used as a threat as an extra receiver in the pass game. So I like seeing that.
He is going to be a threat as a receiver, and I don't think he's getting enough credit for it today. And I think people are going to really are already starting to learn about it, really who don't know enough about his receiving game.
Yeah. I mean, I forgot. I could look up the stats, but I think his yards per route run were like, was it the best in the country last year for college receivers, like for running backs as a receiver?
I'm not sure, but he was a very
I'm
good
gonna
receiver. Yeah,
I'm
look it
gonna
up.
look it up while you go, yeah,
And
while
then
you go over some stuff.
and then though Tyrone Tracy, Devin Singletary, and Cam Scatterby are pretty clearly going to make the roster. If we do carry a fourth running back, which I think is possible, who do you think it's going to be? Eric Gray, Dante Miller, or Rushawn Baker?
So I think to me, the way I look at it is I think there's going to be 7 running backs and tight ends. That's how I'm looking at it, right? I think I'd be surprised.
That's
I
fair.
think that's often what they do, right?
Hmm.
So this decision is going to come down. I think like you're going to have I think, in my opinion, we're going to have the three running backs we know, right? The three guys almost certainly to make the team are going to be um, Tracy, Scattaboo, and Devin Singletary. The three tight ends that I think are I would guess are locks to make the team right now are Theo Johnson, Chris Van Hertz, and probably Thomas Fidone is my guess. I'm going to say right now because they just drafted him, and I think he offers a lot of upside. Um, so that means, in my opinion, there's a roster battle between what we just talked about, Bellinger, Dulcich, and then the running back. And the running backs, if I had to pick a fourth running back, man, I personally would go with Turbo Miller, just because I
You're a
think we need
turbo guy.
I just think we need a speed guy. Right? We
Hmm.
don't have anybody with that kind of burner speed in that room,
No, we don't.
and I
I
think
mean,
he
Tracy's got a
adds
little
something.
bit, but
Not like that.
hmm,
Not 4.2 something speed or whatever
yeah.
he ran. Right. So it's just it's a little bit different.
So Turbo or Dolchich slash Bellinger.
Turbo.
Okay. I mean,
How about you?
it it depends whether they're going to be in special teams. If you're going to use Dolchich or Bellinger taking less money, I'm not keeping Bellinger without taking less money unless he really blows it up. Then it really comes down to the special teams. Tight ends can do a little bit, but if Turbo can be that kick returner for us, then Turbo.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I think I just want the speed element, and I think we don't have enough burners on the team.
Hmm.
And I think a kid like that, I mean, while he's not like some superstar, he's a guy that can help you he can be a change up on your offense that can really like your guy right now. You have one cut guys, and you have guys who are going to punch you in the mouth like Scattaboo. Yeah, you have guys like that. You have guys like Singletary, and I think defenses will key in on guys like that. They'll get used to it. Throwing in the changeup of having Turbo Miller on the field who just runs past guys is going to definitely be a change of pace. I think is beneficial, and you can use it properly in games if you know how to do it. So that's kind of where I would go.
Yeah. So before we move up the skill players, I have one thing I wanted to call out and get your thoughts on. I think Bobby Skinner tweeted it that he was saying Bo Collins was getting out there at the first team, and he got out there the first team before Jalen Hyatt today. What's your thought on that? And do you think that Bo Collins has a shot to make this team?
Yeah, I mean, this is the kid that the UDFA they signed from Notre Dame,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he at Clemson before that?
He
I'm
was.
forgetting where he was. Yeah, I mean, he's a talented kid. Like, and
He's a
apparently,
big kid.
right. And this is a kid who you may not have seen what he's capable of because I mean he's playing in that Notre Dame offense where it's a run heavy offense, right? And it's Riley Leonard who did an admirable job. They got all the way to the national title game, but it's not his game to necessarily use the wide array of receivers they had. Collins, he seems like a really good blocker. I think that helps for the position you're talking about, right? Like wide receiver,
Mm-hmm.
what, 4 or 5? You want a guy who can play special teams, which I believe he can. You
Yep.
want a guy who's a competent blocker. I think those become really important features for that position. And he's a big target, big strong kid. He plays with kind of a nasty edge if you've watched him. He's a competitor. Um, if he can prove he's a good receiver, I have no problem with it. I mean, I think again, we're talking about wide receiver four. If Jalen Hyatt can't beat out Bo Collins, then so be it, right? Like that's fine by me.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, Bo Collins is, he's 6'3", about 200 pounds. He actually really good combine numbers. He 4.52, solid, just over 4.4s, 38-inch vertical. Like he's an NFL athlete. But one thing I think I'm gonna keep an eye on with him is what can he do for special teams? I'm not seeing that he did much in special teams in college, and so I think a natural guy to he compete with for this job is a guy like Bryce Ford Wheaton. But Bryce Ford Wheaton was a great special teams player in college, and then they kept him on the team because he's a good special teamer. So if he's a guy who didn't do this a lot in college, that's something he's going to have to pick up fast. So you want to take a spot away from him. Otherwise, you're like you said, you're competing with most likely you're competing with Jalen Hyatt for the job, and that's a lot harder. I mean, it's possible. Jalen Hyatt could have a bad training camp. He already got a spot over him early on, and we'll see. But I would keep an eye on it, how much he can improve as a special teamer if he can make this team.
I mean, he has the physical frame to do it. He has the speed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
He has the demeanor as a blocker and as a hitter to do it. So I think I can see it. Um, it's interesting. I mean, this gets to the question of how many receivers do you think? Again, how many receivers do you think they're going to carry?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, typically they've carried as many as like six, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if you're carrying six receivers, let's say seven running backs and tight ends, six receivers, that's 13. You're typically going to carry 25 players on offense. So, that leaves you 12 for the offensive line in the quarterback room, three quarterbacks. Um, that leaves you nine offensive linemen. To me, that's probably correct. But they may make up for it by having five receivers or one less running back or something and an extra offensive lineman. But let's just say safely, you're going to carry five receivers, maybe six. To win that last job or two, you got to be good at special teams, you got to be good at blocking, and you have to be able to come in special packages to be a threat on offense and do something well, right? And so you can't just be a specialist like just running down the field. Like that's the problem with Jalen Hyatt ultimately, right? Like if he's not a more complete receiver overall, and all he is just a run down the field specialist, it's going to make it harder for him to hold on to a roster spot with some of these guys saying, "No, I'm going to help you on special teams." So that is the way Bo Collins gets on the team. I think special teams and blocking. I mean, I keep saying blocking, but I wouldn't underestimate it. Right, a big
Mm-hmm.
part of this running game might be the blocking of receivers. I mean, you see the best running teams in the NFL, their wide receivers are all good blockers. Like you just watch the teams like the Niners, the Rams, like they utilize, especially these wide zone teams, they utilize those receivers as blockers, and it really helps to have guys who can have that skill set. So I've heard that he's good at this. I haven't seen it in great detail, but if he can do those things, I think he finds a way on the team. And then your guy Bryce Ford Wheaton might not,
Yeah.
because if all he is a special teamer and he doesn't do anything else, that's tough.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you're wide receiver 6, like special teams is the main thing you're looking for. So he's got to show he's at least a comparable special teamer to Bryce Ford
Oh,
Wheaton.
I forgot Smith Marset. Right,
Yeah,
Rad is adding
he's gonna
Smith
he's
Marset's
gonna make this. He
he,
should
he-
make
I
the
mean,
team. I
he's
didn't
gonna
add
make the
him.
team. Right. He's absolutely on the wide receiver room. So you have your
Mhm,
top three and you have Smith Marset. I think those four are locks, right? Neighbors,
mhm.
Slayton, Wandale, and Smith Marset. Those four are locks to make the team. Hyatt probably makes a team that's five, you know,
Yep,
um, unless they trade him or something. I don't think they're gonna cut him. And then that if there is a sixth spot, that's where he's basically you're seeing Bryce Ford Wheaton battle this guy. It's
correct.
interesting.
It's
Uh,
it's either be a better receiver in Jalen Hyatt or be a better special teamer in Bryce Ford Wheaton. Those are the roles of the team.
it's interesting. These guys are not going to get a ton of reps, but like, the question is, what do you want to see? Do you want to see them lock down special teams, or do you want to see that extra receiving target?
Hmm.
I'm leaning more towards the special teams with because I just feel like we have enough receiving threats. Not again, not
Yeah,
elite, but good players. between the tight end room, the wide receivers, and even some of the running backs, where when you have a quarterback like Russell Wilson who's actually competent, I don't think you have to keep expanding the targets. What you have to do is just give him, the looks where he can make plays. And then what you really want to do is make sure you have good special teamers on the team to give you good field position. So I do think that that's going to be the issue.
Jalen Hyatt could barely see the field as a wide receiver 4. The way to make this team is a special teams as a wide receiver 6.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's exactly right.
so I don't know if we can move on to defense in a second here, but I
We
don't
should
know
talk about
what
the
you
O
have.
line a little bit.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't know what you have for the O line. I think the main takeaway I had was that, hey, it looks like Evan Neal is getting some first team reps at right guard, and that's significant. That's something keep an
And
eye on.
left guard.
Oh, left
Um,
guard. Left guard is what he
yeah,
was getting at.
yeah. Um, I saw a few reps, nothing major, but he looks more comfortable, obviously. I think something we thought he would look more comfortable because he's not having to move laterally that much. He can just kind of
Mhm.
get in the phone booth and just bully people. I saw the funniest rep today where Elijah Chapman, all like 5'10" of him, tried to bull rush Evan Neal from the interior. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Do you remember the scene from The Princess Bride when Andre the Giant is like holding on to the dread pirate Robert who's like trying to fight him and he's like
Yeah,
flailing like a little
yeah,
child.
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
it looked like with Chapman trying to bull rush. I don't know what Elijah Chapman is thinking. He's probably thinking about his next job. But like, yeah, there's a lot of ways to try to beat Evan Neal. Bull rushing him from the interior is probably not one of them if you're
yeah.
5'10.
Yeah.
You
See
know,
Elijah Chapman when we sign Christian Wilkins.
yeah. Good luck to you. No, I think Neal's gonna be. I think I've always said this. I think you've agreed too, right? Let him compete for the job, but if he does, the way he probably moves. And the fact that the guards are okay, they're not great. I just have a hard time seeing him not win an outright job at guard, at one of the guard spots, because if nothing else, he occupies a shit ton of space. He offers help to your center. We'll get to that in a second, just by being there. And he's a road grader. Like he's gonna open
Mhm.
up. He's gonna open up holes in the run game. Like when he's moving forward and he's locking onto guys, he's creating space. So that's something not a lot of guys on this offensive line do, or do well at least. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty high on the possibility of him playing as a starter.
If he looks like he can be a starter, I want to start Evan Neal. With that said, I don't necessarily expect Evan Neal to look better than Van Roten because I think Van Roten's a very good, not very good, but he's a good, like average to good guard in this league. But if Evan Neal can just look like he's starting, I want to give him a chance to develop and see if we have something.
Yeah, and let's talk about Greg Van Roten, our future, not so far in the future starting center. Um,
Yeah, there you go. That's the other one.
yeah, I mean, there was a rep again. There was a rep today. Again, it's camp. Don't go too crazy, but there's a rep today with Abdul Carter lining up in the A gap against JMS. Did you see it?
Yep.
It was horrible. He
Yeah,
not
it was really
only
bad.
drive. I mean, Abdul Carter's strong as shit, but he's an outside linebacker. Okay, he's not a 320 pound interior D lineman. He's not like overwhelmingly larger than JMS, but he drives him backwards, moves him around, and then just tosses him like just like a child. He tosses him like 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. It was embarrassing to watch, dude. Like, you're a veteran. You were a second round pick. This is your third year. This rookie, and he's not even a defensive tackle. It's a freaking linebacker playing peppering the A gap. He's not even running right around you. He's just pushing you backwards and throwing you like to the side like you're nothing. That's that's a tough scene to watch, right? And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like he may just not be strong enough to play the position.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to take too much away from, especially the out pads of these linemen, but the issue, it's tough when we've seen him this happen rep after rep in real game situations. And it's hard not to think it's like, oh, it's gonna be the same old shit this year with JMS. And I thought you brought up a good point is if Evan Neal can take the guard job, that it makes sense to move Van Roten over the center. Because I easily see Neal being a better guard than Then JMS is center.
Yeah, I mean, what's your best five pairing is what it's going to come down to. And yeah, they're going to have to compete and show it, right? Like it's an open competition, earn it. I'm not saying lock in anybody, but I have a hard time seeing a line where you have left to right, AT, let's say Runyon, JMS, Neil, or Greg Van Roten, and Illuminor being a better line than left to right, AT, Runyon, Greg Van Roten, Evan Neal at guard at Illuminor. I
Mhm.
mean, I just have a hard time with JMS gone, right? Like you're basically swapping out JMS for Evan Neal and on the interior and moving, Runyon, Greg Van Roten to center spot. I just have a hard time seeing that not being a better line because even though Greg Van Roten is not a traditional center, he has played some there. He can play. He showed he can do it. He's not going to get bullied, right? That's the thing. Like he's not going to blow up a play by getting bullied. Like I'm seeing JMS get bullied all the time. It's nothing. It's not a knock on him. I mean, I think JMS is studying his craft and doing everything he can to get the job right. I kind of feel for him. But I mean, you're going up against 300 and something pound monsters on the interior. This wasn't even a 300-pound monster. You got tossed. Like you're gonna have to line up against freaking Jalen Carter sometimes, right? You're gonna have to line up against some pretty big dudes. You're gonna have to. I mean, Johnny Newton's gonna line up against you this year, right? And like
Yeah.
you're gonna have to hold up. And if he can't do it in camp, I don't want to see him fail in the regular season before they make a move. Like if he can't win the job in camp, just move on from it. Just say, you know what? It was a second round pick that didn't work out. We're moving on. We're putting somebody else there. That's all.
Hmm. He can be your backup center.
That's it. Let him be a backup center. There's nothing wrong with that. Like he just
Yeah.
didn't make, but I'm not feeling good about it right now. I mean, day two, it's early, but I'm still not feeling good about it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. The only other thing I wanted to talk about the offensive line, I don't know if you had anything else, but um, I'm excited to see Marcus Bowe. It's early. I don't want to, he's had his struggles so far, but he's a rookie. Again, you can't take too much away from these no pads, especially with these linemen. But with Andrew Thomas probably going to be out for most to all of training camp, these tackles are going to have their hands full trying to handle these edge rushers.
Yeah.
And, Marcus Bowe is going to have to learn quick. And same with James Hudson, but I'm really excited to see Marcus Bowe.
Did you see the rep that Abdul Carter put on Bo today
I heard
at right
about it. I
tackle?
didn't see it.
Whew. I almost can't blame Bo because we know we both like Bo. He's very quick and he's
Mhm.
very smart in getting to well, his big thing was like he's really good at getting to his landmarks. So, so basically, I mean, he hit him with his signature move. He lined up at right tackle, and Abdul Carter basically faked his. There's a fucking mosquito in here. But uh, lines up, fakes the bull rush, and hits him with the ghost move. And
Mhm.
he had his legs in a pretzel, basically. And it looked ugly for Bo, but I mean, I don't know who it would have looked good for, to be totally honest. It was just a nasty move by Abdul Carter.
Mhm. Yeah, hey, and it's Marcus Bowe's gonna have to learn, man. He's gonna go against the best of the best in practice every day. He's gonna get a chance to go against first team people early and often. And hell, even when you're not going against the first team, there's gonna be some great edge rusher on the second team. So, um, yeah, man, that's something to watch out for. I don't expect him to be good right away, but I want to see him improve.
Yeah. It's also no crime. Like you're in the same draft class and what was he, a fifth round
If
pick,
no
right,
pick,
Bo, this
yeah.
year? Fifth round pick, like, developmental tackle essentially getting beat on a rep by the third overall pick, who people are comparing to guys like Micah Parsons. I mean, there's no crime in that, right? It's just,
Hmm.
but it's a chance to learn. Ferris put out there, or actually, no, it was Jabri who wrote, I wonder if he gets reps at center. I talked about that before the draft, where I said, I think I see this guy's future potentially at center. Um, I'm curious if they do it, especially if the JMS experiment comes to a quick conclusion. I would say this year, I kind of want to see them stick with him at tackle. Just for this year, I want to see them develop him at tackle and see what Bo can do. And
Hmm.
you have two issues competing for tackle this year, going into next year. One, Jermaine Illuminor is not yet signed. Um, if I'm the Giants, I'm definitely doing my best to sign him to an extension right now. Um, but again, AT. you don't know. Even if you sign a limiter, like what's AT's health going to be? It's good to have a guy who can play tackle ready to go. So I'd rather leave him a tackle right now. And then another issue at the center thing, just one last point. This is DKIT's guy. I mean, Jake Kubis is a guy who apparently was getting reps at center last year. And he's a guy
Mhm.
that UDFA from North Dakota State that the Giants signed last year. Apparently the coaching staff was very high on him. I think Brasillo and some of the other guys really liked what they saw. He's a pretty big, strong kid, and he was a good guard in college. Um, if he can hold down center and learn it, I think he's a guy that like look out for him in camp. Watch to see if Jake Kubis is getting reps at center. I'm going to be very curious about that. I think he's more than just like a backup guard, especially with the needs of the team. So that's something I want to see also. But I would like me personally, I'd rather see Bo be the swing tackle and compete for the job there and stay there to develop.
Agreed. Because look, the only way if we get an injury that this season from Andrew Thomas, if this season doesn't fall apart, is not going to be James Hudson, which is why I hated that signing. But hey, Marcus Bowe we liked a lot. If he can get to a solid level fast, he might be able to hold down for a few weeks for us. But we'll see.
Yep. All right, you want to move on to defense real quick? We're only at
Yeah,
an hour and 26 minutes. We're cooking. We're on fire.
there we
We're
go.
we're
We're
we're, we're, we're
we're,
moving
we're
at rapid
speeding.
speed here. Yeah, going faster than Shador Sanders in camp. All right, so let's go to the defensive line. I mean, we talked about it already with the hopeful addition of Wilkins, but not much to see. I saw one diabolical image of Dexter Lawrence with an evil laugh. I think he just looks at people who are trying to block him and just starts cracking up, which is beautiful to see. Um,
No, it'd
I
be the great
haven't.
part about getting Wilkins is him and Lord Dexter talk shit the same way. They just laugh at you.
Yeah, they're just funny because they
Yeah.
know they know they're better than everybody on the other side, which is a great feeling to have when they're on your team. I haven't seen too many reps from a lot of these guys in the D line. I don't know if you guys have seen it much. I haven't seen too much directly, but we have seen them from the edge rushers. And I mean, again, Abdul Carter looks like the real deal. Like
Mhm.
his first step quickness is nasty. His ghost move is disgusting. We talked about this when we did our scouting report of him. Freakish talent, athleticism, not yet a fully developed pass rusher. He has to develop more than that ghost move. That's kind of his
Mhm.
go-to. He's got to do more. But man, if all he does this year is hit him with the ghost move on the outside and just move around and pepper the A gap and come up through the middle, like he's gonna be highly productive just doing that. He looks like a real defensive weapon, a real force already.
I'm excited. Obviously, you cannot do it full time, but I'm excited for when we just continue to use packages throughout the year where it looks like we're gonna do it, sticking Abdul Carter in the A gap and just let him beat guys who are slow that are too slow to keep up with them, especially if we we can move over Dexter Lawrence over into like the B gap or whatever, and let him go to work.
Just imagine for a second. I'm going to go back to like Jabri put it out there. Just imagine the Wilkins dream for a second. You've got these two psychopaths from Clemson staring at you, lined up with their hands in dirt, both Dex and Wilkins, laughing at the fuckers that have to block them.
Yeah,
Those guys are already shitting their pants looking at these two, right? And then they look up and fucking Abdul Carter is lined up behind Dexter Lawrence. Now what? Right? And you got Burns on that side, Kayvon on that side. Now what? Right? Like it's just it's awesome to think about. I,
terrifying.
I mean, yeah, it's awesome, and I hope Shane Bowen proves that he actually has the ability to use Carter properly. Carter is a defensive weapon. He's not.
Mhm.
He's not an edge rusher. Not a
Not yet.
pure edge rusher. Not yet. But he's a defensive
He
weapon.
will be.
Use him like that. Use him like that. Just move him all over the damn line. You know, like the people who wanted this, like shout out to them again. Jabri was like, no, I think we were having a debate Hunter versus Carter, before the
Mhm.
draft, and he made the point over and over again. Like, I think Carter is more useful for the Giants because you can move him all over the line and keep Kayvon in there and use sub packages. And if that's what Shane Bowen does, and I was skeptical if he would do it, but if he actually does that, that's the correct usage of the
Mhm.
guy, and it'll be awesome. So the edge room
Let-
is good. Kayvon, let's talk about him for a second. I'm sorry, you had a point about him, or
No, I was just gonna say let him put on some weight for the year, and maybe you can set the edge better next year once he's full, you know.
he's got plenty of time, right? But he's
Yep.
going to be a weapon this year.
Hmm.
Burns looks good. Burns looks like Burns. He's the pro. He's one of the better edge rushers. He's a top 10-ish edge rusher in the NFL. I think it's pretty safe to say that at this point.
Hmm.
Um, Kayvon, um, have you watched the videos of him and his working out? I mean,
Hmm.
he
Like he's
he
wrestling now.
he looks leaner, honestly, in a good way. Like he
Hmm. You
looks
said he lost
more.
weight. You say he's
Yeah, I mean, like there's no doubt in my mind when you look at him that his fat composition has gone down substantially compared to when he first came in the league. His legs look stronger, um, and he looks quicker, and he looks very fast. And so I got to see it when they get their pads on. Obviously, you got to see what happens. But Kayvon looks quick as shit. And I was, I've been writing to you, right? Like to me, this is the year of Kayvon Humaniora, right? Like I
he,
think Kayvon has always emulated the wrong giant from that era. He is much more OC than he is Michael
the,
Strahan.
this is my cover photo on on Twitter now.
Shut up, fat boy. That's
For
amazing.
Sir Jermaine Illuminor. That
Yeah,
was so funny.
and if you remember, those two had like a fist fight, like in OTAs. Like I think they legitimately just do not like each other, and I like
It's
that.
possible. I think that a
Yeah.
little bit of both. I think that they're teammates, but they just they get each other under each other's skin.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm a big Kayvon truther. I still believe in Kayvon. I'm
I do
not
too.
like one of these guys who's like, I think people say he's trash. I'm like, he's not trash. He hasn't lived up to the fifth overall pick. That's very fair to say. But he's a good football player. The question is, can he play at a great level, right? And how can he play at a great level? I mean, if he's used as like the Humaniora guy, right? Like really, like your
Hmm.
job is to fuck up quarterbacks and fly around the edge and force fumbles and do shit like that. Like I can see a career for Kayvon where he's really one of the most sought after edge specialists in the NFL, right? As a pass rusher, and I can see him doing that this year with the personnel groupings we have. So I'm banking on the Kayvon Humaniora year. That's what I think we're going to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. I am excited for Kayvon. Obviously, he's not gonna get the usage he gets normally, but he will. Hopefully, the efficiency comes up with him getting a little bit more rest and whatnot.
Yep. Um, I haven't seen much of the linebackers. Have you? From the inside linebackers?
No, I haven't heard much. One thing I do want to comment on it. I saw I think Bobby put it out or something, or his pod or whatever. It's like, who do you think is? It was like a poll. Who do you think is going to be the third linebacker? And it was crazy to me. Like, I don't think people have caught on to Chris Board yet, because Chris Board
He's a
was
good
a
player.
really good signing. People
Yeah.
had, I think he was a third of the in votes there. People need to get familiar with Chris Board, and I think
He's
they
gonna
will.
make the team. And
And
he's
he's
also
going.
he's a special teams captain, isn't he?
Yes,
Also?
he's a great special teamer. And last year, when was it Simmons or Simpson? Trent Simpson, I think.
Simpson.
When he got hurt and Chris Board came in. Chris Board like he almost looked like an upgrade. He played really well.
That's because Simpson is ass. I mean that
Yeah.
there is, but but no, I mean no, he's a good player. I think he's for an inside linebacker at three. That's what you want, right? A solid player who can come in and be good behind your starters and who's consistently contributing on special teams. That's exactly what you want your inside linebacker three to be. And I think he's exactly that. And I think he's like he's a lot like Muasat, honestly. Like there's a lot of similarities in terms of the prototype. Like Muasat is also a very good special teamer, and he's like a
Hmm.
core special teamer and a pretty decent inside linebacker. But I think I I don't know how many inside linebackers are going to carry. They actually carried like six last year, I think, when the season started. It was weird. I think they
Hmm.
normally carry about five throughout the year. Um, but that's including your special teams guys, right? So I'm curious who they carry, but I think I actually think Board and Muasau are both likely to make the team because they're both core special teamers. They're both backups who are solid at middle linebacker behind Okereke and McFadden. Um, Whether or not Deontay Johnson makes the team is going to really depend on how he performs coming off injury. I know they liked him a lot last year, but we really haven't seen him. right?
Yeah,
Since his
he
injury.
won the poll, I think, that for people, which that was a little surprising to me.
Oh, that's because he was like a talking Giants favorite last year. I think that's
Hmm.
part of the reason he won the poll. Like there was a lot of like pro Deontay Johnson stuff. And to be fair, he was good until he got hurt, right?
Hmm.
But I don't know what he looks like now, right? Like remember Darren Beavers was a guy we all loved until he got hurt, and then he couldn't make the team after that, right?
Hmm.
So like you got to see what these guys look like after injury, especially when you're talking about these UDFA's. So I'm not too worried about Deontay Johnson. I do think Board is a more useful player on the team. You can't ignore special teams and like a solid backup playing good special teams. It's very important. And I think Lewis and Board all for that.
Yep.
Um, let's go to secondary real like let's move on to like this is important. The
Hmm.
safety room. Let's start there. Tyler Newman is getting rave reviews in camp. Rave reviews from veterans who say he looks different. He looks like a star out there. Um, and last year was kind of an anomaly for him in his career, right? Like he was a highly productive. For those that don't remember, he came out of Minnesota, played largely in a two deep shell system where he was always a half field safety who was able to have a lot of production both coming downhill as a tackler in the run game and run support, but also with interceptions and just ball production. Just as long as he was asked to cover half the field, he was a menace. Comes to the Giants, they have some issues with depth. Jason Pinnock is essentially safety one, ahead of him, who's really not a safety one. McKinney had just left. I think they asked him to do a little bit too much as a rookie, and you saw some of the athletic limitations affect him. Plus, he was a rookie.
Hmm.
This year, the Giants signed Javon Holland, and all of a sudden, I think you are going to see. And this was my point when they signed Holland. You're not going to see Newman be allowed to play at what he plays the best, right? In like the half field system. Um, I'm very pumped about Newman. If you ask me today for all the excitement I have about the D line and the front seven, the singular player who I think will make the biggest leap from last year to this year on that defense, I'm going to choose Tyler Newman.
Yeah, I mean Tyler Newman, he did play well for a rookie season and whatnot. He wasn't special, but as a guy who came in who was an experienced college player, he did look like an NFL player right away. But he wasn't a guy who excelled, and he didn't excel. He excelled in run defense, but he didn't excel as a ball hawk and in coverage, which, well, we felt that his physicality was something that got underrated at
Hmm.
Minnesota, and I think that
Yeah,
showed up. But what everyone talked about was the ball hawk he was, and
yeah,
rightfully so. We talked about it. He was phenomenal, and what you said, Javon Holland, I agree. I think he being able to play more of that single high for them, or be too high with Newman will really open up what they can do.
yeah. I mean, I think with Bowen, what we saw a lot of last year was they start, they kind of rotate into a cover three post snap a lot. But you saw, but ultimately, yes, somebody was asked to play that center field position, and it was very often Newman. And I don't think that's his strength. I mean, in fact, that was his weakness when we talked about him
Mhm.
coming out in the draft 2 years ago. That just don't ask him to play center field by himself a lot because that's where you're not going to get the most out of him. He can do it, but he's not going to be elite at it. Where he'll be elite is if somebody else is doing that and he's playing more downhill, covering half the field, making plays on the ball. I mean, in his final year at Minnesota, he had 5 interceptions and 4 pass breakups. Uh, is in 5 years in Minnesota, and mind you, he only stayed 5 years because he wanted to help his teammates and he wanted to stay in there and try to help them. Like he could have come out the year before and would have been one of the the safeties taken in the draft, but he stayed an extra year. That he just really didn't have to. But in total, in 5 years, 13 interceptions, 13 pass breakups, and he did allow 5 touchdowns. But again, this is it's a lot of production from the safety position. Most of those, in fact, 12 of those interceptions were in his final 3 years, and he just got better and better and better. And he was playing in that system where he was allowed to play half the field. And I just feel like with Holland here, he's going to be able to do that. Just being a second year player, learning the speed of the game, he's going to be more comfortable. I'm expecting a very big year from Tyler Newman. I think he's going to be like if that front seven, Monty, if it does what we think it's going to do in terms of getting us to third and long situations and harassing the quarterback, there's going to be competitive throws out there where the defense is going to have a shot at him. And this, I just feel like that plus where Newman is going to be playing this year is going to be an opportunity for him to have a lot of interceptions and turning the field over. That's what I'm expecting. So he's my guy. He's like my Giants' big defensive player this year.
Yeah, no, I could totally see that. I could see him having a better season than Javon Holland, who we both like a lot. And it's not necessarily a shot at Javon Holland, but I think that is really he's going to have a. I think he's a player we both liked a lot as a prospect. Is coming into a second year where he should improve a lot, and then capped off with just a much better position for him to succeed this year.
Yep. Um, n- and Holland, I mean, I heard a debate about him and his, he's an interesting character, right? Like Holland before last year was on the same par as Xavier McKinney, right?
Yes, arguably
Uh,
better.
yeah, but certainly in the same tier, right? I
Yes,
would say they were viewed very similarly. The difference is last year he had a really down year,
got hurt.
and got hurt, and McKinney went freaking all universe, and
Yeah.
so people think that there's this enormous gap. I don't think there is this enormous gap between the two of them, at least not in terms of talent. I think if you can get a little bit closer to what Holland was before last year, you're getting a McKinney-like player. Maybe
Mhm,
not quite the ball skills, maybe not quite as good as McKinney with the ball skills. I think that's
mhm.
fair to say. But in terms of his ability to read defenses, break on the football, break up the ball a little bit,
I
make tackles, and just be a menace in the secondary, I think he can do that.
I think a better coverage guy than McKinney. I think at his best he's that. McKinney had a knack for being where the football needs to be and making plays in the football, which so that's something that I think Tyler Newman has as well, and Tyler Newman hopefully can show for us. But Javon Holland's a former cornerback. Like he can play that nickel for you and whatnot. He has those skills.
Yep. Um, there's going to be a safety three in this system. This is very frequently a nickel defense, right? And they sometimes will use, you know, three corners. Sometimes they'll use three safeties. Sometimes they'll go into dime coverage. So a guy like Belton is going to get reps here. I don't know how
Mhm.
many reps, but he'll 30%, 40% of the reps, like he'll probably be out there, right? Um, where does he fit here?
He's the guy who hopefully can finally start making, help make some plays. I mean, I shouldn't say finally because he's a guy who has made interceptions for us, but I guess a guy who could continue to do that while the rest of the team gets more and just, give us a few turnovers and play decent safety. I think that's what you're hoping for from Belton.
Right. The Giants did sign the safety from Seattle, Kavon Wallace, also
Hmm.
recently. So we'll see how that. But I believe that's really to compete for that job, right? To
Hmm.
that backup safety to the starters. Maybe they'll carry four. They usually do. But I'm curious who makes the team there. Um, let's go to the corners because this is where the intrigue is. We
I
signed
do.
Paulson Adebo.
Hmm.
Um,
CB1.
yeah, Paulson Adebo is CB1 for us, right? Is he a high end CB1? No, but he's a good player. He's a good CB1. He's a man, press man
He's a
type of
top
guy.
32 corner in the league or whatnot.
He's a
Like,
solid starter at CB1. That's how I
mhm,
would describe it, right? So he can hold it down, and you hope that he can hold down against some pretty tough competition in the division. But he'll be challenged. The big question, well, Drew Phillips is probably our starting corner without much of a competition here
mhm,
at nickel. Um, we saw today Cordell Flott get first team reps over
yep,
Deontay Banks, and they're splitting reps on the outside there as starting CB with first team. So let's just talk about this. And there's another name to throw in there that Carl Banks was talking about, which is Trey Hawkins, who's apparently making a resurgence. But let's talk about that cornerback spot, that outside corner, outside opposite Paulson Adebo.
so the one thing we're forgetting here, Giants fans, is Cordell Flott may be getting reps as CB1 right now. But one thing we know about Cordell Flott he may be the worst training camp cornerback that's ever training camp cornerback. So the chances he actually wins that job, even if he is a better game corner, which maybe he, if Banks struggles, I could see Flott being a starter at some point this season, but I do not trust that man to do anything in in training camp.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have a hard time believing all of camp's going to go through, and Banks won't look better than Cordell Flott, and Flott is just relegated to the bench just because, right? Not that he's not a good player or a useful player, but it just he's never had a good camp. And like you
Yeah,
said, so
he
you
might
know
be a
we'll
better
see.
game corner. That wouldn't surprise me. Like I don't know who's the better corner. Like last year, Quarterflot was clearly the better cornerback, but he wasn't covering wide receiver ones. Deontay Banks was. So like, if you switch those roles, who's better? Like I'm not sure. Banks has had a down year. Flott had a somewhat up year. They're gonna make Banks earn the job, and they
Good.
should. They should.
Yeah. He if you can't beat out Cordell Flott for the job, you don't deserve the job. Go beat him out. So that's a very interesting thing to watch. I'm glad they're doing that. They're actually doing normal things, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But there is some depth here that's intriguing. I'm not saying it's great, but so we'll start with Trey Hawkins, um, the phenom of camp 2 years ago that
Yep.
people were going crazy about, which I always thought was batshit crazy because he was just a kid who didn't have a lot of experience coming out of Old Dominion. And the Giants pushed him way too fast into the starting corner role and then just dumped him, and then he got hurt. But according to Carl Banks, he looks like a more refined player this year. He went from athlete to more refined corner.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, he was a physical, athletic freak. That's why the Giants drafted him, the prototype. If he is technically becoming a more sound corner, I think you're going to start seeing this one get more attention as camp goes on.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, this is a guy who you brought in to be, a developmental corner for you. He was a guy you brought in based off traits. And year one, training camp, he looked phenomenal. And you're like, okay, maybe we got something here. Maybe we did. We did. We didn't have anything yet. He was a flash in the pan in training. But can he figure it out by year three? At least to be like an NFL corner, like a guy that's going to stick around the league. That wouldn't shock me. He has all the physical abilities to be that. So we'll see, man. I mean, I'm not counting on it, but it would not shock me at all if he became like a good depth.
I mean, look, if CB2 is not locked up, don't be shocked if any of these guys compete for starting reps.
Yeah.
Uh, Remember, this guy almost just a shade under 6'2", 188 pounds. This is at the combine. 32.125-inch arms, which is ideal for a corner. He ran a 4.4 240 with a 1.5 10-yard split. These are all elite numbers across the board. And an 6.7 4.3 cone, which is elite. The measurables are off the charts for a cornerback. I mean, physical, big, strong, fast, great arm length. If he can technically be good, he's going to find his way on the team for sure. And again, not that I want to see Trey Hawkins starting, but like there's going to be competition for playing time on this team, no doubt about it, for that job. So again, Deontay Banks, like you might have a few people nipping on your on your heels here to get playing time away from you. So win the job. Um, Two more guys I want to talk about. We drafted Nick Jones in the seventh round. I'm sorry, Corey Black in the seventh round.
Gave away the
Um,
other guy you want to talk about.
yeah, I'll get to him. Seventh round pick. Usually these guys are bubble guys for the roster. We'll see. I haven't seen anything with him yet, but let's talk about Nick Jones, who we signed this year. I think he was I want to say, wasn't he a UDFA that we signed?
I think he came
Uh,
from another team.
did he come from somewhere? I can't remember.
Let me
Um,
check. I think he was
but
from Kansas City or something.
okay.
Yeah, Kansas
Um,
City.
all right. I'm sorry. He's 23. So yeah, I mean, you saw him early on Jackson Darts. I think his first throw, pick six, right? Picks him off, takes it the other way. So let's talk about Nick Jones.
Yeah, I mean, look, is this the guy who's going to show out? I mean, he came from a great organization who helped develop him for a couple years. He doesn't have great numbers. I mean, he's just a shade under 6 foot. That's pretty good size. 189, ran a 4.51, 35-inch vertical. Decent athleticism. The guy who came from small school in Ball State, but he's making plays early. He got the pick six versus Jackson Dart. I think he's got people's attention. It's his time to try to prove he can be the guy.
This is an open competition literally for I think almost every spot except for a Debo and Drew Phillips spot in the cornerback room.
Yeah, it's CB2 and then the rest of it. And
See,
CB2 is very much open.
like CB2, CB4, CB5, all open spots right now. All right, if they carry five, I don't know if they will or won't. Depends on how many safeties they carry, but wide open, like wide open spots right now. I mean, and the order of which could be anything, really. Like, it will not shock me if Deontay Banks just loses his job outright. Wouldn't shock me at all, right? If he just loses the job and he's relegated to the bench and either Flott or somebody else is taking the job. Um, Also, don't forget the Giants are third in the waiver wire, right? And a lot of good players are probably going to get cut on cut day. Remember, there's only one cut day now, and really good players that all of a sudden are going to hit the market. Like, all of a sudden, you better believe that this is the position where I think the Giants, the two areas the Giants are going to be looking to fortify, I think, are going to be the offensive line, specifically the interior line, perhaps center and cornerback. And so our CB2 may not even be on the team right now. But
Mhm.
for the guys who are there, Banks is going to have to earn it. And Jones made a name for himself already, so he's nipping on the heels of somebody for a job.
And one thing I did want to shout out, we brushed over Corey Black a little bit, but Corey Black is kind of, he's the new Trey Hawkins to some extent. I mean, he was a
Hmm.
little shorter than Trey Hawkins. Trey Hawkins just a tick under 6'2", and he's just a tick over 6 foot. But he ran a 4.35. He had a 7 second 3-cone, a 4.34 20-yard shuttle, 39-inch vertical jump, like very, very athletic. He tested, with the exception of the 3-cone, really, he tested better than Trey Hawkins pretty much across the board. So
Yeah, I mean, I think he's that developmental guy, right? That
mhm.
I mean, chances are he's maybe he makes the team. I think it's more likely he goes to the practice squad. Um,
But he
but
does have
I don't.
some experience. I mean, this is a super senior. This is is a COVID guy. This is a guy who's got lots of college experience. Could he, use that athleticism and some of the experience to, be depth year one? I think that's possible.
It's possible. But if you do try to send him to the practice squad, it's hard to see somebody
No,
using a
yeah,
roster
yeah.
spot on him. I I,
If he
I
doesn't
think
earn a spot in the team, he's probably not going to get picked up.
he has to do a lot to earn a spot on the team, right? He has to do the Trey Hawkins thing where he dominates the
And
third team, or
he could
and
be the
then he
Trey
got, yeah,
Hawkins.
right. He could do it. He has to dominate in the third team, and then he has to move up to the second team and like play really well and really solidify his spot. So it's one to watch, right? But
Hmm.
he's kind of already behind Nick Jones. Nick Jones is a veteran at this point. Nick Jones has a pick six. Like, those things matter, right? Like, guys who can
Hmm.
make plays in football that will add up points. So
It's early
it's
though.
an interesting. It's early, and I will contend. Um, I still think the last CB on this team is somebody who's not on the team right now. And it may be a starting CB. Maybe our CB2 is going to be somebody picked up off waivers. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. Seriously. So it's something to watch. I mean, remember 3 years ago we picked up Fabian Moreau. We took
Hmm.
advantage of where we were on the waiver wire. We were fifth, um, and we got Fabian Moreau, and the Giants were able to turn him into basically a starter. You know, uh, so all year. So you don't be surprised if nobody establishes themselves as the clear-cut favorite to start. We may be getting somebody else.
It's possible, man. We'll see. I mean, hopefully Deontay Banks shows why he was a first round pick and can at least be a CB2 for us. Like, come on, I don't think that's too much to ask. But
Yeah.
the the one other thing I wanted to talk about, we kind of glazed over a little bit, was the interior defensive line. I would definitely want to keep an eye once we get in the pads on Darius Alexander, because I think Darius Alexander's a guy that's getting overlooked by Giants fans and throughout all the NFL, man. Darius Alexander, to me, it would not have surprised me. To me, I would have been fine taking this guy in the end of a first round if I didn't need it at interior defensive line. I think this guy's an older prospect, and that hurt him. But I also think that's going to allow him to be ready right away and a guy who can contribute. And don't get me wrong, he has room to grow. He has he can prove a little bit of a run defender. He can prove a little bit as a pass rush. He's decently well rounded, but he has flaws in both spots. But I think this is a guy who can be a force for us year one. I mean, it's gonna be hard with Christian Wilkins here, but it'd be a force.
Yeah, I mean, I almost brushed aside him only because I'm so high on him. I almost didn't think it was worth discussing.
Mm,
But for those who are not familiar, I mean, Darius Alexander was a menace last year in college at Toledo. Older prospect, but really just a beast of a human being in the run game, in the pass rush, batting footballs down, athletic, long, strong. The prototype of what Andre Patterson looks for in a physical D tackle.
yeah, and I know everyone, and it's a guy they targeted. He's a top 30 guy, and they landed him. The third round, they lucked out, and just because he's in the third round, I think he's getting overlooked a little bit. I'll say there's a little bit of a hot take. I know, we're all having fun right now watching Abdul Carter, and he's athletic as shit, and he's tearing it up right now in camp because that athleticism shows right now, and he's taking advantage of some lower level tackles we have, and I do think Abdul Carter is going to be a great player in this league, and I do think he's going to do a lot for us this year. I think there's a good chance Darius Alexander is the more impactful rookie.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, where are the Giants more in need of impact? Put it that way. Is
Mm-hmm.
it in pass rush from the edge, or is it interior defensive line support in the run game and pass rush from the interior? I think it's definitely the latter. So
And
I think Darius Alexander is going to come in and be a problem from the get-go.
and I think he can be a well-rounded player year one. And he has the best interior defensive line coach in football.
Yep. I mean, if you ask Andre Patterson to design a prototype of a football player that he wants to develop on the interior, he would create Darius Alexander in a lab.
I mean, it's clear. I mean, he's built like all the other guys who dropped in the seventh round. He's just actually fucking good.
He's actually talented. Yeah. I mean, this
Yeah.
is a real talent. And um, don't underestimate his ability to use his hands and his instincts to bat the football down. This
Mm-hmm.
guy had a crazy vertical. He has insane length, big bear paws. This is something he consistently did in college, where he got his hands up and as he was able to shed enough to get his arms up in the air and knock the football down. He really is a really useful defensive lineman on the interior. And yeah, DK's making the point that he's never seen as like a single team in college. It's true, like he's
Mm-hmm.
always doubled. You're playing next to Dexter Lawrence, you're not going to get double teamed. It's just not going to happen a lot. You're gonna get a chance to win one on one a lot, and don't forget, uh, as big and strong as he is, and he can win with bull rush. He got skinny and won a ton going to, like between the guard, like one gapping. Like he kind of did it all. There's so many ways he can win from the interior that he's not going to be overwhelmed. I think by double teams in the NFL. So he's going to see a lot of single blocks. We'll see how he adapts to the NFL. He's a rookie, so I want to see it, but I think he's going to be very impactful. I'm locking him down. We comped him to Leonard Williams before the draft.
Mm-hmm.
We said he reminds us a lot of Leonard Williams. I think you're going to see a very similar kind of player to Leonard Williams from this
It,
guy.
it would not surprise me if he's starting week one for us, and it would not surprise me the end of the year, like let's say the PFFs, like rookie MVPs of your teams is the Giants in that article is Darius Alexander.
Right, exactly. Um, yeah, I think that's it. And we covered essentially the whole depth chart, like top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty excited. I don't want to overdo it again. It's camp. You got to take everything with a grain of salt. But I will. My closing thoughts on this episode, man, are simple. I've been banging the drum of like 10-7, on the timeline, and people think I'm nuts. I'm probably nuts, right? Because everybody else has this as like a whatever, a 5-win team or a 6-win team. But I'm gonna make my case or why my bullish argument I think is sound, other than everything we just told you. I don't know if you heard the Big Blue Banter episode with Warren Sharp, and he went over, you know, Warren Sharp has a book where he uses advanced analytics to predict outcomes for the year. He's very good at it. But if you really look at it, it's largely broken down by your advanced metrics, things like EPA, by player, by position, by grouping, versus matchups, blah, blah, blah. The Giants were a negative group across the board in 2024. Their EPA was essentially like bottom of the league in almost every category except for the defensive line, meaning the edge room, right? The front four, essentially, front
Hmm.
four, front five, depending how you define it. Every other grouping was a negative EPA. And so, when you bring back a lot of the same guys, people are like, well, it's going to be a shitty team. So they were shitty last year. But here's how let's just talk about the offense for a second. I'm going to argue that every single grouping that was negative because of our quarterback play. It was Daniel Jones and Drew Lock. There's no way your receivers are going to have positive production from an advanced analytic standpoint with those quarterbacks. Other than Malik Neighbors, who's a freak of nature, nobody else is going to produce on a positive level. Your running game cannot produce at a high level if you have no quarterback and pass game. Your offensive line is going to look shitty if your quarterback can't read a defense and can't call coverages. So on offense, I think it's pretty straightforward, right? I think that it's pushing everybody who's negative EPA into like a positive territory with just average quarterback play. That's been my fundamental argument for everybody this summer. Um,
Hmm.
on the defensive side, I do think we've had substantial improvement in personnel. Substantial. The D line, the edge room, the secondary, across the board, we've had upgrades. That by itself is going to push up the value of each position group. But more importantly, schematically, I think that if the offense is able to actually hold their own and stay in games and put up points, this defense gets unleashed. And so what I'm looking for in camp is seeing validation of what I think is my theory of the case, which is we see enough from Russell Wilson doing things with the players on offense that you can envision this team being a 21 to 23 point per game offense, like just an average-ish NFL offense, which to me unleashes the defense. So that's my theory of the case.
It's going to be tough. It's a tough schedule. I think if you're looking at success for the Giants this year, you're looking and hoping for like a Denver Broncos type year last year where the offense does enough despite kind of a lack of talent there. But um Brian Dable draws it up to keep it efficient, takes advantage of those red zone opportunities slash Kafka. That we didn't talk about that, but Kafka, something we were rooting for is seemed to be the play caller this year, which I'm excited for. Um, and really talented defense kind of takes over.
Let's start with the Broncos for a second. In 2023, the Broncos were 8-9. Actually, not bad considering how much they struggled. Their
Hmm.
points for was 19 out of 32, so they're a little below average. They were averaging 21 points per game. This is with Russell Wilson as their quarterback for most of the year.
Hmm.
Um, Again, arguing my point that Russell Wilson, even in a bad year, can put up like an average-ish offense.
Yeah,
Um, their points
with a
against,
coach
however,
that hated him.
right, their points against was terrible. 27th out of 32. They gave up 24 points per game. They went 8-9. Last year, the Broncos, what did they do? They went 10-7. Um,
Hmm.
they were 10th in points for 25 points per game, and they were third in points against, 18.3 points against per game. So obviously their defense took the largest leap. That was the biggest part of this, but their offense took a big leap too. But 19-10, you know, it's really a measurable difference, but it's not like going from 27-3, right? And
Hmm.
that's my point is that if the defense takes a leap because the offense is better, I don't think the two are disconnected. The offense is better, the defense takes a leap because number one, the defense is very talented and you've improved that talent pool. And your offense does a little bit of a better job putting up points. It all looks better. You can start seeing a team that looks like it's on the edge and just struggling to being a winning team that can make the playoffs. Yeah, I know 10-7 is optimistic. I know it sounds crazy to people. I don't think that outcome is as crazy and outlandish as some people make it sound. Tough
I
schedule, yes, but I don't think it's that outlandish.
The schedule is what's holding me up for being the optimistic about this one. It's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we hear this every year, right? Strength of schedule, and then the teams who think they had an easy schedule end up getting the hardest schedule, and vice versa, right? It happens all the
Hmm.
time. So we got to actually see how the season plays out. So I'm not gonna. The point I'm making is, I could give a shit about the schedule, right? The schedule will change. Like everybody's good in the NFL. It's not like there's a group of shitty teams and a group of great teams. Everybody's kind of close to each
That's
other.
fair.
It to me, it's more about what are you, right?
Hmm.
What is your team able to do? I just think this team is able to do a lot more this year.
That's fair. It's a fair point.
All right, you got anything else, man?
No, man. Christian Wilkins a giant. He's a giant. So
Yeah, let's get Christian Wilkins.
tell your
Make it happen,
friends.
Joe Shane. Jabri, I need you to reach out to Dexter Lawrence on IG and reach out to Christian Wilkins on IG. Do your thing, man. Get them together. Get them back. I mean, they better be on the phone right fucking now anyway. But let's do it. Jabri, make the hype video. Let's go. Get Christian Wilkins on the Giants and let's go whoop some ass and win 10 games. Until we see you, am I going to see you next week? Probably not. I have another vacation lined up. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. What do you
This
want from
guy,
me?
this guy's just vacationing left and right. No, it's fine.
It's kind of a staycation. They got family coming in.
I
Um,
got you. No
I,
worries.
I,
So we'll
I,
see you
I
guys in
don't.
2 weeks.
We'll aim for 2 weeks. If I can do something next week, I'll let you know. But let's aim for 2 weeks. We'll see you then. Until then, we hope you guys do well. Remember to follow us. Follow us at He's a Giant Pod. Follow me at Queens_guy. Follow Monty at MONTECRI5TO. Before you go, hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Please do the YouTube. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, whatever you like. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Go Giants.
Go Giants.